Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City Council meeting. I call this meeting to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item of business is to approve the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda? Is there any additions or that you would like to make?
Yeah, since our planner is here, should we talk about that variance application? Because I had asked to have that included in the agenda. We can,
Oh, you had, okay. All right, yeah. we
last
can-
time, so.
Yeah, we can add it. Okay, so what would you, for the record, Justin?
What was the address? Ryan, do you know? Does anyone know?
425 Lake.
425 Lake,
Address.
just quick discussion on that.
Okay. All right, with that addition, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move.
Justin moves. Second?
Kathy.
Kathy seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda approved with the addition of a discussion of 425 Lake. All right, I'd next like to open the public forum. Is there anyone here who would like to address the council? Seeing none? All right, motion to close the public forum.
I'll move.
Justin moves. Second?
I'll second.
Ryan seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public forum is closed. The next order of business is announcements, and we're missing our administrator tonight. She's not feeling well. One item that she mentioned to me to remind people of is that the filing deadline for filing to be on the ballot for elected office is 8/13. So I just wanted to remind people of that. It's also posted outside City Hall as well. All
I
right.
do have one more announcement.
Oh, go ahead, Kathy.
I've started working with the volunteers on the deer hunt, which we have contracted for through 2025. So if anyone else wants to jump on that, feel free, but I assumed you didn't, so I've started. So holler if you want to, but we'll be discussing that in the September meeting.
Okay, great. Are there any other announcements from the council? Okay.
We're good.
All right, all right. The next item is the consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda unless there are items members would like to remove for further discussion?
Yeah, I just have a question about the treasurer's report.
Okay. All right.
So if we could remove that and then just,
We'll keep that in advance for further discussion. With that exception, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I will. I'll move.
Justin moves. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Ryan seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda approved with the exception of the treasurer's report. Justin,
Yeah.
what questions did you have? And Marcia is here.
Let me just scroll down to them. So my question, it looks like on the 13th, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 checks for that pay period.
Which page are you on, Justin?
Page 4 of 9, and, well, okay, so PDF page, shoot, they changed it on me. It says 4 of 9 for we're on the disbursements register, page 23.
Okay.
4, excuse me,
Okay.
5, sorry. Keep messing, but. So there's a payment for clerk treasurer of $1,000, clerk treasurer for $51, clerk treasurer for $2,188, parks, which I assume is Jim, and then clerk treasurer for $946, and then another parks for $925. I'm just kind of wondering, most of the other payment periods look like it's like, maybe that's right, I don't know.
Well, not sure I understand what you're asking.
So is that correct that we have, so let's see, it would be Becky, Therese, you, right? That would be 3 checks, and then Jim would be 4. So why are there 6 checks for payroll? I'd have to go look at that. Okay. Yeah, if you could just follow up with that. I don't, yeah, that's fine. I'm not, yeah, just let us know. And then, yeah, no problem. No, it's not an issue. I just curious. All right, so,
I've got one too, if you want to.
yeah, I have one more. So, engineering review, plan review for 160 Cedar, and that's 237. I assume that'll be billed to the homeowner, right? Yeah, okay. So the answer was yes. Okay. That was the ones I had. Sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
It's okay.
No, I was just wondering about the hose to water newly planted trees. That it just $350 for a hose kind of jumped out at me. Do we know what the hose was?
I can answer that
Why
question.
don't you go ahead,
Yeah,
Margaret?
okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So we planted some trees that were the result of monies that we obtained through Emerald Ash Borer grant. It was from a few years ago. It kind of started before I came on the scene, but it finally ended in June, and that was the deadline. And so we needed to get the trees planted in order to obtain the funds. We did get the funds, approximately $9,000. But to water them, we have to use our fire hydrants, and we needed to get quite a lot of
I
hose
see.
to
Okay.
reach from the
Okay.
fire hydrants to the where
Okay.
the trees were planted. And
That
so,
makes more
and
sense.
got the least expensive hose, lightest hose possible.
That was like a $350 garden hose? Like,
Um,
wow, okay.
No,
I was trying to find the $350 hose at Menards. Okay.
it was a quantity of inexpensive, relatively hose.
Yeah, I
And we
got
needed
it.
to
I
keep those
got
trees
it.
alive. All
Okay,
right.
thanks for the
Okay,
update.
sure. Okay.
There's always a backstory.
Yeah, there's always.
Well, you always have to
Hopefully.
ask,
Usually
right?
there's
Like-
Well, and it's,
Yeah.
you know, it makes sense, but like, you know,
Yeah, okay. And, any other questions?
I think I can actually clarify your question. The pay periods are 6/16 and 6/30 on those. So it's 2 different pay periods that are listed on this one, which is abnormal.
yeah, that is weird.
And it's because 6/30 is the beginning of a pay period that
That kind
fell
of,
into July.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that
Normally
there's
there's
anything
one.
wrong with it. It's just kind of
Yeah,
jumped out at
normally
me
there's
as
one,
like,
so I
there was an extra one, and I was like, wow, that's weird.
would you like to wait to approve the agenda until you get a check
Yeah,
on that?
let's just
Okay,
check
all
that.
right, okay, well, we'll wait, and then we'll take it up next time. Thanks, Marcia. Yeah, okay.
And could we just, yeah, all right, that's fine, so.
Okay. All right, then our next item is city business. Road Safety Task Force, I see that you're here. Great. Are you ready, or would you like us to? Are you ready to present? Okay, great. I have to say, this was a wonderful task force. These people worked extremely hard, and they'll introduce themselves as we have them all here. And they're here to make a proposal after a study of our safety conditions of our roads. Cora Hankins is at the podium.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, could you speak right into the microphone? Thank you. And then state your name and address for the record. Yeah.
I am Cora Hankins, 165 Wildwood Avenue, and Ron Malice.
420 Wildwood.
Art Arsenault?
Art Arsenault, 432 Birchwood Court. And just for the audience, the map is also included in the packet of information, but for the people that are here, they can make reference to what we're proposing there.
Thank you, Art. All right, Cora, go ahead.
So did you receive the packet with our resolutions? Have you seen that?
Yep.
We have.
As a team, we worked on those resolutions, and we felt that those were those were what we would like to see happen in Birchwood. I did meet with the engineer, Marcus, I think Anderson, and he went over all those resolutions with me, and he felt that those were very good. So he made a few additions, which I put into the resolutions. We've been working on this for months, and I can say my team has been awesome. They're great to work with. So shall we start with, like, go through the resolutions? Is that what we'd like to do?
Could you tell them the background and we had meetings with the community, we had meetings with the police services and that kind of stuff? The background.
Great. Yes, we did have a public forum, and the public forum was, they approved they weren't resolutions then, but they approved what the resolutions state. The two policemen were also at that forum. They also had suggestions, and I put those in the resolutions, that they actually agreed with us, and they had some things to add also. So, anything else you can think of? Okay. So let's just look at resolution number one. Is we would like to propose a uniform 20-mile-per-hour speed limit throughout Birchwood. Right now, there's varying speed limits. Hall Cedar is 25, Wildwood is 20. I put down the reasons for doing that, and I listed them. We had several speed studies that were done. Those speed studies showed the amount of vehicles that were going over the speed limit. And I think that that number is, and the speeds that happened were not acceptable to be for Birchwood. We're a small community with no sidewalks, residential streets. So, and I know Ron has talked with Matamidi, the city engineer there, also about recommendations. So those were included.
And we matched the speed.
Oh, Ron, would you like to just let us know what they said? Yeah.
Yeah, talking to the city engineer, we were trying to match up the same type of signage and that kind of stuff. And Matamidi is 20 miles an hour. So we're matching that. Once you get into the internal part of Matamidi, it's 20 miles an hour in any street. So we're matching that along with the street that we abut to. So that's a, I guess,
Also, we came up with some costs for that. Ron and Art have agreed to replace the signs. They would do it for no charge to the city for their labor. That would be $650. To contract out to put up new signs would be $1,200. So, any other thoughts on
Okay, great. Thank you, Cora. All right. Well, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 1 to enforce that proposes a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit throughout Birchwood. May I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Kathy. Okay, let's discuss. All right, questions from council?
So I'm generally in favor of this. My only concern is there's a state statute that requires I don't know the exact wording, but it's like you have to have traffic guidelines basically. And have you guys looked at establishing those?
We actually have a neighborhood traffic program, and I would like to have, we looked at this, and I tried to get copies for everyone, but this is from the Minnesota Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. And it was like $185 to get their packet. Marcus, who's the engineer, said he has the packet. It's huge.
Yeah.
But this we took from Blaine. It's their traffic program. I would like to have Birchwood look at it and adopt it for Birchwood. I also have a resolution that I took from the city of St. Anthony that states that we are going to do a 20-mile-hour speed limit throughout the city. So I don't know if
I guess what the concern is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the concern is that if we don't, is that, you know, we talk about how Birchwood is a statutory city, and that means that in order for Birchwood to have any power and for the council to do anything, it kind of has to be, the state has to say, you can do this. And so in this case, there has to be some authority for Birchwood to kind of take each action that it takes. And we have the authority to lower speed limits once we have that document in place. Isn't that kind of the point you're making, Justin?
Yeah, that's
Isn't
my
that-
understanding, is that we have to have the document in place before we lower the speed limit.
So we need approval from the state.
No, we don't. So basically, my understanding is we just need, I don't know exactly the exact language, but it's like a traffic policy or something like that. And it's just a document that I don't know. I mean, we would have to look at Matamidi and some other
Well,
policies.
Well, why don't we do this?
But
Why don't we do a little
See what they
research
do
to
it.
see what traffic policies our surrounding communities have, and then we can adopt the language that seems fitting for Birchwood from that. And then once we
Yeah.
have that language, then we can revisit
Sorry.
and then vote on this resolution. Does that make sense?
That's
I mean,
that's fine.
I'm definitely on board with it. It's just
Okay.
we got to do it correctly, otherwise it won't stick.
I mean, I think the concern is as soon as somebody, and maybe, I don't know if, maybe the lawyers can tell me, but somebody could go and, could get a ticket, go to traffic
Yeah.
court, and they say, Birchwood didn't do this right. My 50 mile an hour down Cedar Avenue is perfectly legal, so.
Yeah, well, the
because- Or,
50 wouldn't be legal, but yeah,
Right,
my,
but, you
my
know,
30,
the
right,
30
that
or
I'm getting a
whatever,
10
right.
over ticket should only be 25 over. So it's an enforceability issue. Yeah, so we just want to make sure we're,
So how can we have,
Yeah,
how can we have a 20-mile-hour speed limit on Wildwood Avenue, and we can't use that on another street?
it's a great
Why can't
question.
we?
That's
you
a
know,
great
it would
question.
be, that would be a really interesting thing to figure out, is
Yeah.
whether when we did Wildwood Avenue, whether those rules were followed. That's a pretty interesting.
It's entirely possible those rules weren't followed when the speed limit was lowered to 20.
Okay, well, let's, this
Stuff
is the first time I'm hearing this. So let's look to see what traffic policy is required for us to be able to vote on this.
This is what I printed up from the city of,
Could we see this, Cora? Thank you.
this is also what we looked at for our road safety manual for Birchwood. We can get other cities.
Well, I guess,
Do we want, do we potentially want to vote on interest in doing that? Because if we don't actually want to change it to 20,
Okay.
then we can dig more into it if we do.
So here's from the statute. Okay, a city may establish speed limits for city streets under the city's jurisdiction other than the limits provided in subdivision 2 without conducting an engineering and traffic investigation. This subdivision does not apply to town roads, county roads, blah, blah, blah. A city that establishes speed limits pursuant to this section must implement speed limit changes in a consistent and understandable manner. The city must erect appropriate signs, fine. And here's the part that we're talking about. A city that uses the authority under this subdivision must develop procedures to set speed limits based on the city's safety, engineering, and traffic analysis. At a minimum, the safety, engineering, and traffic analysis must consider national urban speed limit guidance and studies, local traffic crashes, and methods to effectively communicate methods to effectively communicate the change to the public. So there's just some paperwork is basically what we need to do. We need to establish this.
We've done the traffic studies. We have results. We did 3 separate areas. I talked with Marcus, who felt that these resolutions were appropriate, and
I'm
We
not
agreed with
questioning
them.
that. I'm just saying we need policies. So we need to vote on a set of policies first before then we can change the speed limit.
okay, so you want us to go to different cities and find out what their policies are? There's the policy for Blaine that we looked at.
Well, we need to have one for Birchwood though, right?
Okay.
Kind of written out. so.
Yeah, and
Well, what I would do is I've looked through that, and I think it's very appropriate. We would need to update that for Birchwood.
So this is, just for everyone's reference, this is state statute 169.14 subdivision 5H.
okay.
So we just need that document in place, Cora, that's all it is.
Yeah, and I think, committee, I think one more meeting and we'll have it. Thank you, though, for all the hard work so far. I
So
think
you
we're
wa-
nearly there.
You want
Yeah.
the document,
A policy document.
We need, yeah, we
It
need.
doesn't have to be
Doesn't have to
lengthy.
be lengthy, it's just gotta be a couple of pages, you know, it's,
Could I
you can
just,
thank the state for that.
could I just make a request that we take a vote on our intent, like Kathy suggested? I think that was a good suggestion. And then just have at least one email, my preference would be 3, sent out to everybody in the city, posted, I know Ron will agree with me on a little bit of notice. And then maybe next council meeting, just invite folks in for like a town hall and just to give people information and let them know that this is happening and we're voting on this. Could we just do that in September, just to kind of make sure everybody's aware that the speed limit is coming down, so nobody gets kind of,
Ticketed?
yeah, ticketed, caught off guard, just to make people aware that that's on the
Sure.
table here, so.
Yeah, we certainly can do that.
I like that. I think that's
Okay.
a good. I think that's
Okay.
a good idea. It's a road that probably every Birchwood resident uses every day. So if we're gonna make a change to it, we should
Mhm.
at least have proper notification.
Okay, shall we take a vote of intent,
Advisory vote?
advisory vote?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. All right,
Well, you have your motion and.
I have the motion.
Second, so
Okay.
do you want to amend your motion to be advisory?
Yeah, I would like to amend my motion that it's an advisory vote from the council that there would be a uniform 20-mile-per-hour speed limit throughout Birchwood and increasing patrol for the 20-mile-per-hour speed limit.
And I will second that.
Kathy seconds. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, advisory vote carries. All right, so thank you,
Thank you very much.
Task Force. You did a
Yeah,
wonderful
nice.
job. And it looks like we're nearly there. And when we get a policy in place, then we'll vote on it after notification of the citizenry that we're planning to take this step at the next meeting.
okay. Do we want to do Resolution 2, which is crosswalks?
Sure.
You want to go into that?
Sure.
The Road Safety Committee would like to add 2 new crosswalks with signage on Wildwood Avenue. One would be at Birch Beach, Owl Street, and the other would be at Grotto. One of the things that I've seen as a near miss at Birch Beach and Owl, where 2 kids were almost hit. School buses stopped there but from both Matamita and White Bear Lake. On Owl Street, there's no crosswalk there. There's a walkway that comes down to Wildwood Avenue and goes on across Wildwood Avenue. We'd like to have a crosswalk there also. I think this would increase safety in the area. We would also like to have signs posted that say this is a pedestrian crosswalk and you must stop for pedestrians in the crosswalk.
What do you mean center line signage?
So the center line signage is typical of our neighbor in Matamidi on Lincoln Town. There's 3 crosswalks that currently have the signage that we're proposing. that would be a freestanding sign with a 28-pound weight, that would, that, it's a smallish sign.
Oh, yeah.
And when we had our public forum, the sheriff and the sergeant that were present said that definitely slows traffic down in those areas. And that's one of our concerns, that some of the citizens have complained that people disregard the speed limits. And so we're just trying to assist them in moderating their speed.
So which side, so is this on, so on Owl Street, which side would that be on? The I don't know if Randy LaFoy or
So as you're coming,
side or the other side?
as you're coming from White Bear,
Yeah,
there would be a sign on the right before Owl,
okay,
on the side, then a center line, and then the painted crosswalk. If you're coming from Matamidi, it would be before you get to Owl, on that side of the street, there would be a sign, a freestanding sign notifying the driver that there's a crosswalk coming up. So you have to warn the driver that the crosswalk's coming up, and then you show the crosswalk.
right.
And are those placed in the sorry, I'm looking at your map there, either the right of way or in the park there before the,
It's like, yeah, where is the crosswalk itself going? Like, is it,
The crosswalk would be directly across Owl, directly to the easement.
the signs, those, what I'm asking? It's not gonna go in somebody else's yard. It's gonna go in the Wildwood Park there.
It would be in the public easement
Just, yeah, yeah.
portion of the road.
So I believe that's where the lift station is going to.
Yeah.
So we might want to wait
Oh,
on painting.
yeah, I think it's a
everything.
great idea, but we might we'll have to delay that one until
Yeah,
done
Painting.
tearing things
Oh.
up down there.
yep.
I wonder if we can put up the crosswalk sign or pedestrian crosswalk to warn people beforehand
one,
before that happens?
one general comment on this, the signs seem a little expensive for equipment-wise, like the Parks Committee. We might want to just check with whoever does the signs for the parks, because they got those for like $25 each sign. I mean, it was super cheap. So I don't know if traffic control signs maybe are a little more expensive.
they're
and special,
I
holographic.
think they are.
but we might want to
just-
just double check.
We'll just
Okay.
have Therese order
Yeah,
them
we
from
can have
whatever
Therese
the
order
last
'em
place
and-
she got them from that place.
Right.
We got 10 signs for $200, so.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, well, we'll just make sure that the traffic signs aren't a special, more expensive type of sign. Yeah,
Okay.
got to make sure that we comply.
and Marcus said he was okay with the placement of this and everything.
Yes, and he even thought that some of that could be incorporated into the road repair and the lift station that were going to be there. He thought that could be added to the road,
Oh, okay,
fix-it. So
yeah.
he was very, very pleased with that one.
Great. All right. Any other questions from council?
On the cost, so on the resolution 2, we're talking about concrete pad on each side of the pavement crosswalk marking, but I don't see the cost on that. Is that,
That was what Marcus just recommended.
okay,
He thought there could be some concrete slabs there, but he thought that that also could be incorporated into the road
Lift
repair.
station.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessary. I'm putting a concrete pad on the beach. Is that what you're saying?
No,
No.
no, it'd be on the side of the road.
Is it elevated?
No. He said it would be a safe place where people could stand
waiting to
before
cross.
they go across.
That
the
makes
crosswalk.
sense.
That was Marcus' suggestion.
That'd be on Grotto as well. I think I'd have to see a picture of what that thing is. I'm not sure.
That's something I think
Yeah.
that needs to be decided. You know, do we want to do a separate place for people to stand or not?
Well, it makes sense to me, and especially in the winter, to have a place that you can clear from with the snow, and so that you safely can stand out of the roadway when there's a crosswalk, especially children coming on and off the bus.
It's a little hard for me to visualize something that's not, if it's in the road and it's at Owl Street, it's gonna, if people are standing on it, isn't that gonna narrow the room cars have to go through? I mean, that's what I don't understand, is if this is in the road, it's gonna push
Yeah.
people who are, and if it's not in the road, it's gonna push out to the side, which is gonna be it's a little hard to understand.
That was something that Marcus suggested. I think it's something that we hadn't thought about. So it really wasn't in our original proposal. So
I think I'd like to see a picture of that. I'm not visually
Yeah.
figuring out what that would look
Yeah.
like.
Okay, well, any other questions?
Still trying to figure out I guess I'm not picturing where it's gonna go.
The crosswalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, where does it
Well,
go?
shall we look at the
At Birch
map, the
Beach?
map?
Map.
Did you say you have a hard copy, Cora, that you could pass to the council?
let's see here, I should.
I mean, I
There's
guess.
the one down at Grotto.
It's not
too.
right
Do
down
you
the
have
middle of the
one?
street, is it?
Yeah.
Thanks, Ron.
They're in orange on this particular one. Crosswalks.
Right there.
Right, I guess my question, okay, Ron, is, can I borrow this? pen?
Sure.
Sorry. Is the crosswalk start here or here?
It's the orange thing that's.
So it's in the middle of the
painted
road?
area. The middle of the road would be.
It'd be it'd be like that.
Something concrete, or it could be a 30-pound stanchion.
So, but this is the road, like, it starts in the road and ends in the, isn't it?
Oh, this is wild.
I can only envision
Yeah.
And here's
the
that split.
concrete
where we
on
have
the
the 4th of
easement
July.
side, since Owl's
So you have
already
to have
paved.
one on this side, one on this
So-
side, it's a
I-
crosswalk.
Yeah. Could you use the microphone, just because people are listening? Thanks,
The
Art.
center section is where,
Just, let's come to the, well,
My assumption would be that the addition of concrete would be in the easement, not on Owl Road, because Owl is already paved. So before the crosswalk, a pedestrian could stand in Owl Street or to the side wherever we've elected or wherever makes the most sense for the crosswalk to be. So it wouldn't be necessarily be in the middle of Owl Road, it would be offset to one side of the road.
I think what's a little hard to understand is if you're offset to the one side, you're gonna kind of be hitting the lift station. And if you're offset to the other side, you're gonna be running into mailboxes. And so, I mean, and I'm just trying to understand. It seems to me like the best place to put it would be right in the middle of the road, but I don't ever see that done anywhere. It would seem like you would just want to like project Owl across and put it right there. But that's,
Is it?
yeah, I don't know, I never see
Put
that done
a-
anywhere.
You put a,
I feel like that's
Crosswalk
a
in the middle of a
difficult
road?
spot too, because there's a curve.
It's an
So
interesting.
you're turning there too.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, yes, there are crosswalks that go across the middle of roads.
Well, I mean,
You know,
but
I
it's
mean-
like it would start at Wildwood, I mean, it'd be like the road, right? So, huh, that's weird. I guess I've never seen that.
I would think you'd want to be as far north as possible because that street does curve, so you'd want that signage as far forward as possible to give people a chance to stop. but
Yeah, yeah, I think the task force has considered that, that it's a little bit of a blind corner when you're coming east on that road.
it's much better from the south.
Yeah,
Well, we can maybe figure out the concrete pad portion a different day, but I'd be happy to make the motion to add 2 new crosswalks along with the signage pending staff find reasonably priced signs there at Birch Beach and Al and at Grotto.
I'll second that.
all right. All in favor?
I
Opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Did
would
you-
like to have made a remark there.
I'm sorry, Ryan, I thought you
Maybe
said
this is
aye.
okay, but, no, I did, I said I'd. So, it's
I-
okay, but I
Did
guess
you
the
have another
remark I
comment?
wanted to make is just
Good,
let's,
okay.
are we gonna at least wait on the Owl Street crosswalk?
Oh,
on
sure,
Penny
until
Road
after
until-
the-
That's the
yes.
only thing I
Yeah.
wanted to add,
Yes.
was let's just do that with the construction here.
Of course,
So,
we'll do
okay.
that. Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
It's
Thank
not
you.
painted twice.
Sounds good. Yep. Well, thank you, task force. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank you.
And there was something else about resolution number, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Resolution number 3 was, there was a near miss that occurred at 368 Wildwood Avenue, and we propose the addition of a stop sign on Wildwood Avenue at 368 Wildwood Avenue. There's also a stop sign already coming from the east.
Is that the blue dot on your?
So there's not a stop sign going east, but going west, there already is a stop
You mean
sign.
coming up from Lake?
There is not one there.
There's not one there, and we're not proposing one there. That's a hill. In the
Right.
winter, you don't want to stop.
Yeah,
sign.
no.
No. We're
So, but there's stop, oh, you're
There's
saying
only one
coming,
stop.
okay, I see.
Coming the,
Coming the opposite way.
I mean, yep.
so if you're going straight, there's a stop one way, but if you're going straight the other way, there's no stop.
Yeah, no, now I'm picturing it.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
Yeah, we have it, Art, thanks. Yeah.
I guess I was thinking you were proposing coming up the hill, and I was like,
No. No, we're
it'd be
not.
hard.
No, no.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well, I'd like to make a motion to propose the addition of one stop sign on Wildwood Avenue at 368 Wildwood Avenue on the side of the road as you're traveling east on the right-hand side of the road.
Yes.
All right. May I have a second?
I'd like to learn more, I guess, on.
I don't know how I
I
feel
don't
about
know.
it.
I haven't heard on that one.
Okay.
Um,
All right, we don't have a second on this motion. I think the council is asking for more information before we can discuss it. But go ahead,
Can
Ron.
I talk a little bit about that? My wife was the one that was almost hit. We live at 420 Wildwood. If you don't stop at that spot, they speed around that corner and the mailboxes are right beyond it. So what ends up happening, if you don't have a stop sign and they're traveling beyond the speed limit, which they are, she almost got hit by the mailboxes getting her mail. So, well, the reason the stop sign, that way you can view going around that corner and get their speed down and then start again. So that was the reason that we needed that stop sign, probably more so than the one to the right that goes westbound.
I'll make a motion to add a stop sign to the discussion at the town hall at the September meeting.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion from council?
I don't know how I feel. I understand where you're coming, but
Yeah, that's fine. That gives us more time to understand. Like I said, I mean, I've been around here for 5-6 years. I've never heard this one come up as
no, me
as an
neither.
issue. So maybe it is, but
Well, I'm
so-
on that intersection a lot, and I've never really had a problem, but
Yeah.
It's a area where there are hidden driveways, for one. The sighting is poor coming around that area.
Yeah,
We need to calm traffic and
I mean, I think.
slow speed in that area.
Yeah, let's add it to the mix for
For me, I just
next
need more
month.
time. to
That's
think about
fine.
this one.
More time?
I
well,
just- I don't know how-
Brian has a motion to add it to the
Kathy seconded.
I seconded it.
second, and, okay, good. Well, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll add it to the discussion, and if there's more information that you can bring forth, that would be great. I believe that it would be a good idea. I myself have walked and run along that area, and you are dodging cars that are coming too fast, eastbound.
Yeah, that was one that Marcus also thought was a good idea, so.
I think if we do that, we're gonna have to have some good signage, though, informing drivers, because my concern, right,
Yep.
is that we have one direction that's uncontrolled then. So there'll have to be signage to say that traffic from the left or the right, whatever stop sign you're on, does not stop, just so the drivers know that they have to yield to that side. But, yeah.
Okay,
Okay, great.
thank you.
Thank you, Cora.
Resolution number 4 was to put up some powered solar radar speed signs. That was one of the things that in the traffic study from Minnesota said that was one of the things that really slowed traffic, was to have the radar speed signs with the speed they were going and then the speed that was posted for the area. So one of our, the last resolution was to say, would we be willing to put up some, our resolution is to propose putting up some solar-powered radar speed signs. They are effective in reducing speed. They're expensive. Maybe it's something we could look at in the budget for the following year. We're not really expecting it to happen right now. Any thoughts on that?
I wouldn't mind them, but like you said, they're pretty expensive. I mean, the one thought I had is if we can get some grant money. I wonder if there's grant money somewhere that we can use
And
to get those. The other thing, you mentioned the radar speed signs. For these crosswalks, have you considered the
Blinking ones, like,
blinking ones that when you want to cross, you press the little button and it flashes? And those are really effective, I find, especially on Wildwood Avenue down there in Matamidi. Like, that brings that whole road to a stop, and those cars are whizzing by there, so that's another thought.
Excuse me, that's something that we can price out.
One of the considerations that we did talk about was if the speed limit's 20 miles an hour, the advance notice really shouldn't be that.
Yeah.
Because the flashing sign that you mentioned, the speed limit's
Yeah.
30 in that area, which just gets reduced from 45.
Right.
So traffic is rolling at a pretty higher rate of speed
Yeah.
in those areas.
Yeah.
And Matamidi needs to put another one of those flashing lights at that other crosswalk at Lincoln Town,
Yeah.
because the speed limit's 45 there.
Yep. Yep. No, good point.
have you guys looked at all into how effective these are in heavily wooded areas being solar?
Yes.
You did?
So we don't have a firm area where we want to put these in because of the solar powered and the need for,
Clearance?
yeah, we need, so we are blessed with a lot of trees in our community. And so it makes it trickier to put in solar powered. And so that is a consideration that we're kind of leaving it open in terms of their exact locations. But
The other consideration I think we might need to make is they are a flashing light. That may be very distracting to whomever has a window facing that. So that's the other concern I would have regarding that type of sign, especially for traveling speed, because they're going to see it every time someone goes by.
And some of the signs are programmable to where it doesn't, it'll post the speed, it won't flash it unless I've seen them where if you exceed, over the speed limit, then they flash. Or we could even set it at, a reasonable amount over the speed limit.
Yeah.
I've seen ones where it's a smiley face or a frowny face.
Sounds cute.
I did ask Marcus to look for grants,
Yeah.
and he said generally for smaller things like this, there aren't grants, but he said he would look, and he would keep it on his mind to see if there were any grants available. Because I thought of that too. Thanks,
Yeah.
Justin.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's a good idea. Yeah, I would be inclined to say that not have it flash light, the light flash, as Kathy says. I think that would be distracting if someone would say that. But maybe think about doing one and finding a good spot for it and see how that goes. That might be something that we could look at, but maybe we need to refine exactly where we want it before we approve it.
Yeah, it's $4,000 each is tough.
I wouldn't mind budgeting for one.
One,
you
yeah,
know.
to do one and then see how that goes.
I like that.
Okay, all right.
One,
You had a question, Justin, in
Yeah.
regards to the cost, and I talked to Bob Global, who's a public works manager in Montemedi, and the flashing crosswalk ones, they're available, and Montemedi has used them, in fact, at
Yeah.
our border they have. And for just the material, it would be for two of them, like we were proposing, is $7,800
Yeah,
for the
that's a lot.
flashing side, and that's the reason we avoided it.
yeah, okay, that makes
and
sense.
it-
Yeah,
Just to because.
just thought I would ask.
Conservative, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
So, good question. And you had also had said, what's the difference in a sign? There's a lot. Signage from the standpoint, the 3M signs that have the bits, the chip bits that keep them illuminate in the evenings,
right.
there's a huge difference. And I don't know what they bought before, but on traffic signage, it's very important that they see that stop sign, so it stands out in
right.
their headlights.
Right.
So we don't really want to cheat on that. Now, there is a state contract that is available that we could buy our signs. It's Newman Sign this year, and I have their phone number and the contact. We haven't done that. I just went on the internet and found
Yeah.
what's the most reasonable sign I could get.
No, understood, and it seems pricey, so.
It does. I don't like the price either.
And I'm not saying that price isn't justified or isn't the price we have to pay. It's just, let's look around a little bit, just see if
And
we
we
can get
would.
something a little comparable quality, but little cheaper.
Right.
All right. All right. Well, I'd like to make a motion that the council approve the purchase of a solar-powered radar speed sign for Birchwood. May I have a second?
For this year,
No, to budget for it for next year.
throw it in the budget.
Just add it in the budget
Yeah, let's
discussion.
add it in the
Mar-
budget.
Let's add
Margaret.
it
We don't need a motion.
Oh, we don't need a motion right now. Okay. Well, thank you, and we can
When-
take this under consideration and then add it into the budget.
One question for the group. Have you guys looked, I mean, some of this stuff, it looks like, have you looked into, White Pine and Hall Avenue? I know that's one issue we've always had problems with. No one stops at that stop sign. I literally took a cell phone video one time when we had that, the construction traffic. And I think I took the video was like 2 minutes long, and I think one car out of like 30 actually stopped at the stop sign. Everyone else, there was cars that literally blew right through it and didn't even pump the brakes. Have you guys looked into anything on that? Like,
During our open forum and public open forum, when the Washington County Sheriff was here, we expressed concern about that stop sign and the stop sign at J.
yeah,
and the inability of drivers to come to a complete stop. And they informed us that they would increase their patrols.
Yeah, they don't.
They-
They don't. Like, sorry. I mean, like time and time again, we've gone to them and say, hey, this is a huge problem. You guys need to deal with it. I literally showed them the video and they do nothing.
The
So,
solutions,
yeah,
the
it's
solution to that problem is not palatable by most people, and that would be to create a speed table,
Yeah.
not a speed bump, a speed table. You would raise the pavement for an area of about 10 to 15 feet, and then you lower it back down. And
Okay.
it would force people to slow down and or to stop before they come to that. It would be essentially a raised crosswalk from White Pine onto the grotto staircase.
Why do you think people wouldn't like that?
It's harder to snowplow, but other
Well,
than that.
besides that,
I-
I've heard speed tables, actually, people don't mind them as much as speed bumps or humps.
Can I just ask, how is it to, if the bike trail were to go over a speed trail, how many times would I have to go over before my tires like suffered? I guess how is it for bikes with speed tables?
I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, because I've just not sure I've
Well,
ever
they're
seen
not-
a
they're
speed
not-
table, so.
They're not real, like, as
It's
I
not like
understand 'em,
abrupt,
not like a bump.
it's like,
It's very.
it's,
um,
is it an angle that goes up? Oh, okay, all right, then
Yeah,
it's
it's
just like a
pretty-
jump.
Yeah, you do.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and you should see some of them, the jump where the car has, the suspension comes back down on the other side of them.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
speed.
I
yeah.
mean, you could
These are
put,
very, like, I've got a picture of them up right now. These are very, like, very gentle, It's just kind of like this, and.
The bike should be stopping
yeah,
there.
I think,
ahead, Mark.
well, I mean,
I always
the
do.
stopping at stop signs is a problem there. Like you guys said, it's at J, it's right here. It happens all throughout. I think possibly the 20 miles per hour balance might help with some of that. And tweaking the rules just a little bit on the edges, I think will help. And then it does, we just have to continue to be on the sheriff to enforce the rules.
Yeah.
It's constant,
It's a battle.
and I would say it's been disappointing
Yeah.
for probably many years that they don't, as much as we give to the sheriff's office above and beyond what the city of Birchwood's role is within the county contract. It's been disappointing. We don't get that coverage just for the enforcement of our rules. Actually, we did have enforcement of the rules when we had everybody's favorite halfway or one way in town. I would say we would have had it then, but we have not. Outside of that, we haven't had the coverage. I think that's due to us.
One of the things that it says in the traffic document there is that the raised bumps, like Art was talking about, are very effective at slowing speeds. Very effective. So
Mhm.
just FYI.
Yeah.
All right, great,
Thank you all for your work.
right.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
thanks.
you were a great,
Agreed,
great
yeah.
task force. Thank
Appreciate
you
all
so much.
the hard
And,
work.
and we have just a little bit more to do, so.
And
So
thank you,
we're going to do a
Margaret.
town, we're going to do a town hall
Mhm.
at the September meeting
Mhm.
and discuss, do you need us to be here? Yes?
It'd be good.
That'd be great.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and then also come up with a policy statement per statute.
Yes, I will work on that with the communities.
Great.
All right.
All right,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Art and Ron, thank you so much also for volunteering
Thank
the work and cost of those things. Yeah.
Thanks, Margaret, for your running the thing or helping liaisoning the thing, so.
Well, they made it a pleasure.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thanks all.
We
All
have an
right.
extra person here. Do we want to see if we can,
Yeah, I was, can,
the person to find out if they're here for the budget meeting?
Hi. I see two people in the audience. Are you here for a specific part of our meeting or just to observe? Okay, great. Well, welcome. We're happy you're
Are you
here.
required to observe for something?
Oh, your merit badge. Oh,
Okay,
great,
okay.
great. Wonderful.
Picked an
Yeah.
exciting one.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, we're having a budget discussion next, and be prepared. Would council like to have a short break to get a drink of water before we start?
We
talking
recommend a
about
variance for next time.
budget? Chris, we're going to take a 5-minute break. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. We are going to take the proceedings just a little bit out of order right now. We're going to discuss the additional item that Justin brought up, discussion of 425 Lake Avenue, since we have Ben Wickstrom, our planner, here, and we'd like his input.
All right, yeah, so Ben, we had, I don't know if you watched the discussion on 425 Lake, but we had a number of issues with respect to them needing additional variances, which weren't called out by the city staff, including yourself. We just kind of wanted to address that because obviously, you know, when an applicant comes up and, you know, the council is finding variance applications that they need, you know, it's a problem. And, you know, now they have to go back down to the planning commission and then come back up for us. And there needs to be more notice and other things mailed out. So just kind of wondering, you know, to kind of hear what your thoughts are on that and how we can improve going forward.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor, Council, good evening. Yeah, that one, as you know, got a little convoluted. The application changed a little bit before the Planning Commission meeting and then after, based on some of their comments. But the need for more variances, I did watch the meeting, and then I just read the minutes again to get a little more concise version of the comments there. So there was a few of them in the letter that was sent to Carson outlined that might be necessary in addition to what was ultimately granted at your last meeting. One of them was about the stairs and the landing, or the landing and an interval that you can have them at. It's my understanding from the plans and from what I saw at the site or the aerials that they're only replacing one landing. So I don't think that one applies. I might be mistaken, but
Why don't we know whether or not that applies?
I think it doesn't. I'm just addressing what
No,
was
I mean,
in the
I
letter
guess
to Carson.
my point of that is, right, is shouldn't their plans be complete enough that we know right away that?
Okay, then it doesn't
what I mean?
apply. I don't know why it was in that letter is what I'm saying.
Okay,
All right.
The variance for, well, there was oh, that's not a variance. The variance for the impervious surface. That's one, I can understand that. Justin, you know far more about that than I do, and the intent of that ordinance. When the application started, it was just a retaining wall, so a 12-inch top of wall. There's a lot of people that do retaining walls around here, not by the lake, but I don't check their impervious because it's a 12-inch top of retaining wall block. Maybe I should be doing that. I don't know. Or if someone called recently and said, I'm putting in a fire pit, we're going to have some boulders to sit on. Do I have to consider that as impervious? I don't know. It seems we're getting away from the intent of that ordinance. Another community that I consult to has an exception in their ordinance that says sidewalks less than 3 feet wide don't count toward impervious surface because it doesn't materially change drainage patterns or unfiltered water into the lake. So if we want to, we can ask for that calculation based on their new boulder wall design, or we could have for the 12-inch wide wall. I just wasn't thinking that that was part of the variance they needed. But I think when I had a conversation with Ryan, he said if Carson, the applicant, wants to cover his bases, he should apply for that one. It's fine
Yeah.
with me. I don't disagree with that. It's as long as he's going back anyway, that's fine. But I do need some clarification if we're always counting boulders or
Right.
retaining walls.
okay.
Okay?
I mean, traditionally, we have always counted, basically, we've counted every single square foot of wall surface, and as far as I'm aware from looking at variances, but not generally permit applications, but like on Berkeley's, which was the most recent retaining wall that was similar to this, all the retaining wall tops were calculated on that. And so I think one thing we're kind of struggling with here is if we're going to stop calculating retaining wall surfaces, that is actually a pretty significant change in some areas. And I think we just need to, we need to make sure that's what we're doing with respect to sidewalks. I looked around a little bit, and Matamidi pretty clearly calculates sidewalks. So,
Yeah, and I think Ben's asking for direction,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm
Right.
not saying you
Yeah.
shouldn't calculate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I'm saying
What does the
for,
council want to do?
for someone who asks, for someone who comes in for a zoning permit for a retaining wall, if it's, not material, it's not a setback issue, it's nothing, it's a 10-foot wall, 10-foot-long wall, just to help out some erosion on their property. We haven't asked for a survey to calculate their impervious surface
well,
on their lot.
we have though typically. We have, on Berkeley's, the last variance, we definitely asked for their,
Well, no,
Well,
Ben
we
said
as a
when there
city,
isn't
but
a variance, but
Ben
there's
as a
just a
planner.
yeah, there's,
Yeah.
that was a variance though, right?
Ben is
Oh, I
saying,
see, if there's a.
Ben was
permit.
saying if
Well,
there's
why
just
would
a
we
permit.
why would we treat permits any different than variances? I mean, I get that maybe if somebody's doing something that's kind of minimal,
That's
you're
what I'm
doing a
saying.
little bit, the only thing you're doing is a retaining wall. You don't want to run up, thousands
That's
of
what
engineering
that's exactly what I'm
bills.
saying. I
Okay.
think that's kind of the intent of
Yeah.
the zoning permit, right? We want to
Right.
know what you're doing, but we're not going to make you,
We're not gonna, squint
Yeah.
at you more than one way.
Maybe there's a compromise position here that I hate to suggest changing the code because that was such a runaround with the DNR, but I wonder if we could count some of it as impervious, but not all. I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, because right now, according to my read of the code, it is impervious. Like that's my reading of the code.
Yeah, I don't disagree. That definitionally, I guess if that's a word,
Yeah.
you can't just discount it, but, well, it's part of a larger discussion here.
Do you have any other communities that take kind of a middle approach? Like you're saying that some communities completely ignore it as impervious, other communities count it.
I'd have to look in detail. The one I'm most familiar with, I consulted to Big Lake for about 5 years, and they have Big Lake there. They're very concerned, and they have a lot of small lots. And their impervious code was any sidewalks less than 3 feet wide, we don't count. It's not going to change the pattern of drainage or what's filtered. There are others that make exceptions for landscape projects. I don't know if you'd consider a retaining wall a landscape project. In our ordinance, the 4-foot height requirement that they had to get a variance for once it exceeded that, that's actually in our fences ordinance, not in anything separate about retaining walls and grading.
I mean, I guess in this particular case, though, too, I was concerned because they are at such a high impervious surface level of the lot to begin with, and then adding this on, I mean, it's quite a bit, 2%, but when you're at like, what was it, we're at 30% already, and then you add the 2%,
30.7, I think.
it's like, it starts to
get it.
become a big deal, right? Like, whereas if they were at 20% and just added a couple of percent, well, all right,
I also don't know what that calculation is or how it's done for a boulder wall or a landscape project with boulders, because there is filtration between the rocks. It's not runoff, so to speak. So I don't know. But as far as them applying for more variances, I know they're just fine, and we would be just fine, I think, adding that.
Yeah, for now anyway,
Yeah.
I think. And I think the way to handle this is for us to take a look at the ordinance separately, I think, and just see, do we need to tweak this as a result of like our experiences with this? Do
Yeah.
we want to tweak this for the impervious surface? But I think for now, just, read it strictly, I guess, is what
Okay.
I would suggest.
Okay.
The two others were about 16.5-foot setback, buffer strip or something like that, and then no grading or alterations or something within 20 feet of the ordinary high water line. The main part of their wall is 15.5. I'm sure they could move it back to 16, but in the minutes and in the meeting, you had discussed that section near the stairs. So I agree that warrants another variance. The reason I didn't call it out the first time is similar to like in our conditional use permit ordinance where it says you don't need a separate land disturbance activity permit if you get a CUP, or you don't need a zoning permit if you get a, CUP, and those kind of trade-offs. In my view, when you're getting an ordinary high water line setback variance, you're considering all of those things. One of the issues here, I think, we don't do approval resolutions. And it would be good to have conditions saying pursuant to this part of the code, anything left between this wall and the lake, you're gonna have to buffer with native plantings or whatever
Yeah.
that requirement is. Or, of course, we're allowing land disturbance within 20 feet of the shore because we're approving a variance for a wall 15 and a half
I mean-
feet from the ordinary high water line.
I pretty strongly agree with you that it would be very good for us to start doing variance resolutions, and we used to do that. I do want to say, it sounds like, help me understand, but it almost sounds like what you're saying is that we're granting variances for projects rather than to sections of code. And so when somebody comes in with a project, we're kind of saying, as long as we grant a variance to one thing, we're granting a variance for the whole project. Is that kind of what you're saying?
More or less. I mean, I think that section of the code about land disturbance activity spells out you can't do any grading within 20 feet of the ordinary high water line. He's asking for a variance to allow a wall 15 and a half feet from the ordinary high water line. So I guess it just follows that this variance
Sure.
covers all of these sections that are implied to be affecting a project such as this. I'm not saying we should just look the other way and say, no, you don't need this and this and this, because we made them do the height and the setback, which are clearly spelled out in the code.
Yeah, I mean, I guess part of it is that's, like on Berkeley's, when they did their wall, they applied for that setback to the 20 feet in addition to the OHWL setback there. And so I think and so that's an interesting change. I guess I have to say I kind of disagree with you on that, because I think one of the things that we look at when we do variances is what the intent of the code is.
Right.
And sometimes there's a different intent when we're looking at things that are, there's a different intent for different sections of code, even though they might prevent the same thing sometimes.
So you're saying, just to be on the safe side, Ryan, we want to make sure that we are acknowledging each variance that we need, even though sometimes, in this case,
Yeah.
I agree with you, Ben, in this case, they overlap completely, right? Yeah, right, but just as a best practices thing,
Right.
is that what
I
you're
guess,
you're
well, I
suggesting?
think
That was my point.
it's a great, I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I do think that when we see the litigious nature of the zoning in this thing, it would be pretty easy for somebody to come in and say, well, you missed this variance and you didn't apply the intent, and somebody built anyway, and maybe that wouldn't happen, but I think that getting all the variances laid out is important. Maybe it's not, but like, I think what was the other one there? There was the 20 feet, there was the riparian buffer. The other thing that I would say is, the reason I appreciate having them listed out is because it's really nice when we can add conditions onto variances and use the intent of those variances to add conditions to them. And if the variance isn't there, then adding a condition that allows us to get to the intent of the variance, I think helps a little more, so.
I agree.
And I liked what you said before about the conditions and stuff like that. And if you feel that there are some conditions that would be beneficial to granting of the variance, please include them in your report. Like, I would love to see that. If you say, like, listen, they're over their impervious surface, so maybe they should have to dedicate some of this, in accordance with, say, our impervious surface code, right? Like, where you have to have the vegetative strip, buffer, and all that other stuff. I mean, please
Yeah.
bring that to our attention. And
Yeah, I think it's worthwhile. I mean, much of it goes without saying, because when they come with their building permit and there's the inspections, that's going to have to happen. But I think it's good to reiterate, especially in the case of an application.
yeah,
Should we go right into to the First reading of the ordinance for variance application criteria. Are we at that stage, or do you have more you'd like to
Mayor-
share, Ben?
A couple other things, Mayor,
Yep,
thank you.
Yep, please.
There was one, during the meeting, there was a discussion about the lot combination requirement.
Okay,
I don't think they have a problem doing it. I think they're probably in process now. I don't disagree that it's good practice to make people do that. I just don't know that interpretation of the statute requires them to do that, because that statute reads, for the purposes of sale or development, non-conforming riparian lots should be combined. Is this development a building permit or a variance for a retaining wall? I don't know that. I had asked Alan that a while ago. I don't know that I necessarily got a clear answer or didn't push for it, but that is one thing that I think we made them do, and I think it's good to do in practice. If there's a gore or a sliver of a lot or something that was for some other reason, we probably should make them combine. I just don't know that, as was stated in the meeting, that it would be required.
okay.
But they agreed to it, so that's good.
So you would define development as only, for example, building a single-family home on, you would basically, as changing the developed nature of the property in
That's-
some way.
That's what I would think.
Okay.
I don't know that, but
Is there a definition in the state statute?
I didn't,
Pretty vague what
Yeah.
I read. I mean, I kind of agree with that. It seems to me like, to be on the safe side, you might want to do that, but I also don't see anybody enforcing it unless you actually are developing something that wasn't developed before, so.
and then there was one other thing that I can't remember and I don't have in my notes here. Let me see if I have. So originally, the variance application came forward. And he had said, Carson, I think, as the applicant had said, I need to come to you to see if you're going to allow this, basically was his wording, and that may have been,
Yeah.
and that's before he goes to the other boards that he needs, right? And I think we're saying you need to get approval from them before you come to us. And either way, it's okay. You're going to have to get all of those approvals anyway. But for the variance application, if he's wondering if he's going to be able to build this in this location, and we're asking him for, structural drawings and rain garden design and all that, it seems that that's overstepping what is germane to the variance application. Not in all cases. In some of the design elements speak to the character of the neighborhood, which is sort of the subjective part of a variance application. So that's certainly well within reason to ask for. But we're asking for structural calculations. And we're asking, at one point, I don't think they followed up, or we didn't make them follow up with the actual design of what plants are going in the rain garden or something like that. But it seems that that's getting past the point of answering whether or not we're going to give you the setback for a distance. Ryan, you're shaking your head a little bit there. Is it just the character of the neighborhood
No, I asked the questions about the rain garden, and specifically, my focus was on whether or not and how much rainwater runoff it would handle, because part of what it seemed like the design of that particular project was that basically that was answering one of the neighbors' concerns, was where that gutter, all that gutter stuff was going into, right?
Right.
And if, anyone can just put rain garden on their plan and say, plant one plant there and say there's a rain garden, right? So what I was trying to assess was whether they had properly engineered it to handle the runoff that would be expected from the gutters that they would be diverting that runoff into. And they had no plans.
Yeah.
I like the
And
way you
that,
put that.
you know.
Sorry. I like the way you put that, though. Yeah, I think if I remember the conversation a little bit, we got a little micromanaging on what type of plants and how long the root systems were, and yeah, we shouldn't be. It isn't germane to the issue in front of us.
It is germane, because the thing is if they have other alternatives, that don't involve a variance, that comes into play.
We can
And in this case, they had alternatives, which would be native plants and grasses. And I know this because I have a hill on my lake shore that is way steeper and bigger than theirs, and I have no erosion because I have native plants and grasses. Well, I wouldn't say native, it's whatever grew there, right? But that is, I don't have problems,
Yeah.
right? And if you looked at their pictures, they not only had no plants there, they had bare dirt, but they had landscaping fabric, which is gonna limit the growth of the roots.
Yeah.
And that was my point, is that, have you guys looked at these other things? I wanted to ask them if they had looked at other things at least.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that,
Well, yeah, we can always ask them if you looked at A, B, C, D on down through the alphabet. There's always another option, I guess, you can ask about, but we only have so many hours in the day.
Yeah, I agree with that, Justin. Are you meeting the intent of the ordinance and the intent of the comp plan? There may be other methods, and that's worth exploring.
yeah.
It seems like some of these things, I don't know who asked at the planning commission meeting the first time around. I think it was the structural calculations for the wall. I don't know what bearing that has on where it's going,
Well, the
or if we're
problem-
going to allow it at
No,
a certain.
the problem was that the applicant had come in with a 4-foot wall
Yep.
into the first hearing, and somebody said, you have an 8-foot slope. How are you gonna make a 4-foot wall work? And then all of a sudden, without a reapplication for a variance, we got a plan that went from 1 variance needed to having like 5 variances needed. And, I mean, that seemed like there was a real problem there with, you know, with the way. And let me just make a little suggestion here, is when applicants are coming in, I know you were real hesitant to say, I'm gonna mark this as incomplete, because you don't know what the planning commission is gonna say. Let me just make a suggestion, and I told the planning commission I would do this, is that I think in this case, it would have worked really well for Carson and the homeowner or whatever to have just kind of had a chat with the planning commission and kind of, you know, work through this a little bit.
Concept review.
A concept review, and the planning commission has offered, and I think that would just have been a,
Yep.
and, you know, this has been a little bit of a frustrating variance for, I'm sure, I think a lot of people, including you, and I think that pushing people into that review with the planning commission would be
Well, I would
potentially
actually,
super helpful, so.
I would suggest perhaps adding that in your reading here tonight
You know,
as if deemed necessary by, doesn't have to say planner, whatever, city staff. Concept review is highly encouraged or something like that.
we could put that right at the
It's
top
in
of
a lot
our
of
variance
ordinances, I can
application,
tell
couldn't
you.
we?
Yep.
Yeah, and then
Right.
if they really want to submit an application, like, I really like that idea. If they really want to submit an application, they can. Sorry, this is a little longer than we thought.
Yeah.
No,
So, but,
my only concern, right,
yeah,
on that is that we have 60 days,
Yep.
right? So there would have to be some language or some other
Well, they-
understanding that if they are going to the planning commission to get a sort of advisory opinion from them, that they then waive that 60 days.
but
Or
that's,
at least
Or it's
that
prior
period.
to
that's
application.
prior to the
prior.
variance application. Yep,
Right, which is fine,
yep.
as long as it's
That's, I think-
prior.
That's
Nine
what I
out of
think
10
we're
of them,
saying,
though, are
yep.
saying, I'm in a hurry.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
my point, is
well-
like, we don't want to like get it, because we've been in situations where we've been 59 days and we still have, you know, so
Well,
we don't
many,
wanna be in that.
I think it's, the 60-day rule is, it's not expected anymore that you meet it. Because you go to a lot of cities and by day number, with your completeness letter, you get a notice that it's being extended.
well,
before it's even-
right.
We don't want to do that. We don't want to get in that
but we-
practice.
We've been threatened
Yeah.
before, because somebody came here the
Yeah.
day their variance was being heard and said, the 60 days ran, I don't even need to be here, I win, you lose, give me my variance, right? And so, you know, we do have to mind
Yeah.
that, because
And
that
for
just
here,
took the, you know, that
It's
was,
more difficult here because you have one meeting a month, each body.
Yeah.
right? So that 60-day rule is tough to hit a lot of times, but, and I agree.
anyway,
Well, then the last thing on that meeting, so the planning commission is the public hearing, and I noticed a lot of public comment at the city council meeting. Is that standard, and is it just courtesy because they showed up at that one? Is
Yeah.
that okay? Should I always direct people, go to the public hearing if they
Well,
ask
we
me
held
questions?
we held a public hearing, and normally we do just kind of let people talk if they want, but we held one because we were worried that there were missing applications. And to me, in this case, like the wall height
Yeah,
was 8 feet, and that was a clearly, even if you kind of accept the reasoning that you only need to okay the setback from the lake, it's hard to go from, well, that also okays a 7 or 8 foot wall height.
right.
And I think we were holding a public hearing there in part to make sure that,
At the council level, you
council
held that?
meeting,
Okay.
because
Just to
I
make
didn't-
sure there was a.
just
public-
to make
missed
sure
that.
that,
Although-
you know,
Yeah, although we
That-
do
that
just
ne-
kinda
That
let
neighbors,
people-
neighbors could come and weigh in,
That's
and
good.
the public could weigh in.
We,
fine.
we
I
do
was
just kind of let neighbors come in and
that's-
say things because we just want to let everybody have their chance to say something.
Nothing wrong with that. Some people just ask me, am I going to be able to comment at the council meeting? And I kind of was like,
Yeah,
I don't-
usually we'll let them.
Yeah, we'd like to give, we'd like to hear from our citizens, so.
Yep,
yeah.
and part of the, tacking on an extra variance or not, I agree, the height is different from the setback.
Right.
Some of the buffer things like that, in some cases, it's a matter of, did you publish appropriately? We didn't list out, oh, you're gonna need a native plantings at a 16 and a half foot buffer strip. But is that, publishing that rather than just saying at the meeting, you also need a variance for this, sort of like a previous application, I think we had, well, you're also adding on to a non-conforming structure. Should we be granting a variance?
I mean, the publishing is one thing, but that's a little separate from the determination of what variances are actually needed.
Yep.
The wall height there was,
Yes, the wall height, I totally agree with you. I'm saying, like, in this case, if we had published for the buffer strip and it ended up being, well, you also have this no land disturbance within 20 feet, should we put that in the language? It's kind of moot when we don't do the approval resolutions, but that also makes it harder to just, tack on what variances are needed. So I think the pre-application meeting or concept discussion is a good idea. Carson's email to me and to Alan said, it's you guys' job to tell me what variances I need.
Which is wrong too.
it's not, it's
not.
Carson's job, and if an applicant wants to tell you that.
I know what you're saying. You're like, listen, I'm supposed to be helping people and whatnot, but also, Carson's a contractor. They should know this stuff, right? So
Yeah, although.
paid to know this stuff.
Yes, although I do think, as a city, we'd like to make things transparent and easy for people to understand.
Yeah, agreed.
In our code. So,
I got it.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I think with a lot of variances, there are eight code sections you can pick out and say, you're not quite meeting this or something like that. This is not a good example because these are pretty clear cut, and I don't disagree with you that more are needed.
We do get into, I mean, I get the ambiguity.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that,
So in this case, Ryan, you and I talked a little bit about him reapplying. He knows he's going to need to. Let's say it's for those three things we talked about. Does that necessarily require three separate variance applications? I think by our ordinance language, we
No.
can lump them all in together, but
You just
it's a
have to
matter of-
separately list each section.
And then the
It's-
fees.
we've never charged a separate fee. You get, it's basically an all-you-can variance buffet for one fee.
Ryan, you had said perhaps we waive this one the second time around?
Yeah,
or-
and I mean, I guess I felt like there was enough of a mix-up on this. I wanted to check with Alan and I thought it was just good to ask the council, but it just seemed to me like waiving his fee or not asking him, making this an amended application, even if we publish it again, was more reasonable than, I don't know what other people think. I guess I wasn't
I
real
agree.
interested in.
I'll make the motion to waive the fees on that
Are
second.
we, I just want to, I know we've had trouble doing that before. Are we allowed to waive, shall we just?
We've done
do it?
that in the
Okay,
past.
all right.
I
it's
second
fine.
it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I
Thank
think
you.
it just gives a little good faith effort,
I
gesture.
mean, I agree, yeah. I think that, I think Carson just needs another swing at things
Okay.
here, so.
Okay.
I've been in touch with him, and I will follow up tomorrow with him.
Okay, and if he does want to talk to the planning commission, like, let's work that, so, okay.
Sounds good.
Thank
Thanks, Ben. All right, well, let's move on then to E, first reading of ordinance 2024-0801, variance application criteria. And I think, Ryan, you've got some background to give us on this.
Yeah, so first, let me thank Mike Kramer from the Planning Commission. He gave me some nice feedback on this, and the Planning Commission in general. I went through this in July, and this was a couple of updates from me, but mostly just refining a little bit and clarifying what I think the Planning Commission really wants to look at an application. And, I added in here some things about they really like scale on drawings, and I can understand that. I added in a little bit about marking variances as complete within 14 days. And I just kind of sketched out pretty clearly what the Planning Commission wanted to see. And I know it's hard to do this with this document. So I said, if there's an omitted item if we're going to omit items, and maybe we do that, then let's just put a little note on why we did that. So, and hopefully that's not too burdensome. Maybe we even just kind of ask the applicant to do that. Do you have thoughts on that, Ben? Because the Planning Commission really seemed to like this. If you have some thoughts, that's okay too.
Well, thanks, Ryan. Yeah, did I read, though, that it's up to them to describe why they don't need to submit it? Is that, rather than us saying,
It says, it shall include an explanation of why each omitted item is unnecessary. And in my view, if an applicant omits an item and you want to put in an explanation of why and just move
Okay.
on with it, that's fine. If the applicant wants to omit half the application and fill that out themselves, that's fine too.
okay,
So,
just for the sake of the commission and the council, here's
yeah,
why this isn't
that's my
included.
view. But like, it's kind of intentionally, just if there's something omitted, just
Yeah.
give a little reason. And if it's obvious, it won't be a problem anyway, so.
So this particular, are you talking about this sentence that says, "City zoning staff shall mark an application complete only if it includes the following items or shall include an explanation of why each admitted item is unnecessary"?
Yeah,
So who's adding the explanation of why each?
Well-
That's the applicant, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm,
yeah.
So the way it reads, though, is that city staff includes it as,
Should we ask that is the applicant that does that?
yes, or
Okay.
the applicant shall include. So
I'll-
I would say, I actually think that what we need to think about for this is that the applicant can say why this isn't necessary, but I think it's up to city staff to determine ultimately what is and what is not necessary.
Okay.
And I wouldn't condition acceptance on saying, well, you can submit whatever you want and then tell us why it's unnecessary and we're going to consider it complete.
I guess
You know what I mean?
I'll reword this a little bit. I think I
Yeah.
can make this a little better, but that's a minor change, I think, so.
Oh, go ahead, Ben.
thank you. Under C, Ryan, draw should be drawn.
Putting an
Plot
N.
plan drawn to scale.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I know this is very similar to what we have, and I think this is a good document here.
You're reading it like I read stuff.
And H, so H is the one where evidence demonstrating compliance with regulations of other governmental units. So
I don't think,
demonstrating compliance,
H
does
or
that,
H? There's two H's.
oh, is there?
oh, the
Yeah.
last H. Oh,
H2.
that's another thing that needs a little,
So I.
it's up here. Yeah.
Evidence demonstrating compliance with regulations of other governmental units. So that goes back to our last discussion about 425 Lake. Do we need them to have that approval before they come to us? Is it a case-by-case thing, or do we just need to,
So does that just Rice Creek?
sometimes White Bear Lake Conservation District? I believe.
Because Rice Creek, actually, one of the Board of Managers called me, and they actually don't have authority to regulate anything. because he found it out basically because we've regulated it, they're done. So they only come in when, like, that's his understanding, that's how I read the law too. So they probably
They don't
don't
even
even
have
need
to,
Rice Creek to do anything.
They don't even have to apply to Rice Creek? when
Rice
we're
Creek
the-
would like them to believe they do.
So,
But, because
But-
we're the LGU or whatever? or
Well,
is it-
so he's bringing it up. They're working through their own processes, but based on my reading of the statute, I don't think they have any authority to regulate.
Okay.
But that's neither here nor there for now. We
Yeah.
just kind of wait on that. But yeah, they should have it before they apply to us.
see, I didn't actually change this from the
No,
previous
right.
section, and it's worth a discussion. I think like the DNR and Conservation District only care about things below the OHWL.
Yeah.
And so it just seems to me like we can just say in those cases that those government units don't have applicable regulations because it's above the OHWL. Though it did look to me like there was some question about, the
So,
Rice Creek thing. I don't know, like,
The way this is the way this is worded is that basically just to give people examples of some government organizations that might have some regulations that impact their project, the onus is on them. Because we're not experts in DNR law, we're not experts in that stuff. And so, they basically have the onus to say, yep, I've checked with Rice Creek and they're fine with it, or I've checked with the DNR and they're fine with it.
I just didn't know if there were, meeting cycles that these applicants have to go through, and then it becomes a months-long process. Carson's point
No.
was, well, you guys have to tell me if I'm even allowed to build it before I start going to these other, which is a valid point. I just don't know how many cases that comes up in, or if, like Ryan's saying, it's only if it's below the water line.
I think that if what Justin is saying is correct about Rice Creek,
Yeah.
that we don't need to really care about Rice Creek. We don't need to care about the DNR for anything above the OHWL.
Yeah.
And I think just my opinion is almost, let's just use our best judgment on this. What do you think? And just say if it
Yeah,
doesn't
I mean,
seem
I would
like
just-
anything is applicable.
Yeah, it just
Let's
use your
just,
best
like,
judgment.
forget
If
it.
you think something's
Oh.
applicable, bring it up to them, say, hey, you need to contact this group, and then once
Yeah.
you get a permit from them, we'll mark it as complete. The problem here, right, I think you're running into is this case where they want to know that their project is good before they invest in the project and designs and things like that, but we can't tell them if it's good until they do that.
Yeah.
Right, and so it's like, as a decision maker, I mean, I can't,
We
a
can,
lot of times I can't see, I mean, the first plan he submitted was literally a survey with a line drawn, and I'm like, I don't know what that is,
we'll
right?
just start charging a permit fee, and then we'll also charge a blessing fee.
Yeah, so, I mean, to the extent that there has to be a risk taken, it's gotta be on the applicant's end.
Yeah, I understand. I guess where I'm going, this is not quite as applicable because we're talking about water stuff, but in another city that I work for, someone applied for a side yard setback variance showing on a line drawn on a survey. We'd like something here. They didn't go through the design because it's expected that they're gonna have to meet architectural requirements and all of that stuff, which is separate. It's a building permit review. And in the case of some things like this, if we do ultimately do resolutions, that helps because we can say,
Please
you
do
have-
resolutions.
you have to get these approvals before we issue your building permit.
Yeah,
then we
please
have
do
that.
resolutions.
Okay.
So, I mean, unless somebody wants to disagree with me, but
Well, I
I
don't
would,
know how
I think
that-
that would be great.
I don't know how the resolution, how does that work? Is it statutorily or what? You have to record it at Washington County, or you can just, is it just record keeping here? We're doing a resolution,
It
putting it in your
still has to
property
be
file.
recorded. The variance itself has
The
to be
variance
recorded
has-
with the
if they- if
property.
it's granted.
so,
No.
Has to be
yeah.
recorded.
Yeah.
But I don't think,
Okay.
I don't think it's any different than a motion with a lot of whereases.
Yep, that's right.
Okay,
I have no problem. I write those all the time.
okay.
Ryan, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No,
Finish.
that's it.
Okay,
The
so,
county is the one who gets picky about how they are formatted.
Oh,
But once we figure out one or two of them, I think it'd be fine.
so for H, Ryan, like, my suggestion is to add that not for each section of the code, they should have to write or provide a reason, like a practical difficulty, like what their practical difficulty is.
That should be what section 304040 says, is that says you have to lay out your, and it's unfortunately, it's not on the page here, but a demonstration that each
Oh, is that- oh,
criterion
that's
set
right,
forth
that
in
is- okay.
304040 is met.
Yep, okay.
The first H, yes, H1.
Maybe
So,
let's
and
just
if-
put including the
Including
practical
I can do
difficulty,
that.
because it seems like that's being missed.
All right.
Not that anyone that's filling out the variance application is actually reading this, but
I think that's a good idea.
Next
Yeah.
meeting, I'm gonna throw in a resolution asking that we redo our variance application to make it consistent with this, so.
yeah,
Okay,
I have no other comments.
looks good.
Ben, do you have, is it, okay, thank you so much for
Thank you,
reviewing that, and
everyone.
thank you for your
Sorry,
advice.
That went on long, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Thanks.
Want to make sure we
Sorry,
get it right.
Marcia.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Yep, Yep, and thank you, Ryan, for coming.
Could we do a
with the
first
Planning
reading on-
Commission
Yeah,
and coming up with this, and, yeah, good, I'm talking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then I think we will. We have done a first reading of the ordinance.
I'll move to adopt pass ordinance 2024-801 as a first reading.
All right. I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. We need a motion to order the second reading and public hearing. May I have a motion?
I'll move, Justin.
All right. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Ryan, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. All right, well then, we're finally to our budget. Thank you, Marcia.
And we
for
have to,
waiting.
we have to publish this one too, so.
Hey, Chris, if you can come help put that back on the screen now, that'd be helpful. Perfect. That way you don't have to squint.
See, popcorn would be great right now.
Yeah, I know, it would be.
Is it possible to zoom in just a little bit on the screen, Chris? Yeah, that's much better. And I can just look up there, so you guys can lose my place for me instead of me losing it myself.
Well, I'm not sure how you guys would like to go about walking through this, if you'd like to go line by line, or,
Well, Marcia, last time we did go line by line, and it's the will of the council. I mean, are people okay with going through line by line? Some won't have much discussion, some others may.
I'm okay either way. I mean, since this, like, I mean, I wanted to go line by line through the last one because it was such a big raise. Like, this is,
I'd be-
seems more
I
reasonable.
think if you identify anything that would stand out, that would probably just be easiest enough. That
Or a section
any
by
large
section.
changes up or
Yeah.
down.
Okay. And then people can introduce questions on ones that concern them. Okay, yeah, so, yeah, go ahead, Marcia.
so, in the past, the budget has just been put together with the levied items.
Can you speak into the mic?
Yep.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Thanks.
One thing you guys will know about me, I don't like microphones at all.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. You may have to keep telling me.
Neither do I.
So I put this together to kind of, there, thank you, to kind of mimic what would come out of a CTAS report. So ultimately, at the end, we can put it in CTAS, and anytime you guys have questions about the budget, or it can become part of the treasurer's packet, every month you could, without checking two different sources, it'd just be right at your fingertips. So some of the things that we put in that like we hadn't done before is like the $90,000 for building permits, because that'll come off the levied item. But the stuff that we're paying to Jack comes off the bottom, so.
Yeah, just for some context, it used to be that was considered non-levy, so we didn't talk about either the intake or the outgo on those because they balance out. But for transparency's sake, it seems as though we should have both sides of the equation listed here, and then certain items will be levied that don't balance out, like for instance, engineers' fees, and in certain cases, planners' fees and others. Yeah,
Correct.
okay, all right.
So some of the bigger things are on line with the state intergovernmental revenues, letter D. That is that includes your gas tax, and it's also including the EPA federal grant that we're getting for the lift station, and the Rice Creek.
Rice Creek Watershed District
Watershed
grant.
District. $100,000 from there, which can be used on the lift station upgrades, which will come out at the bottom, at the very bottom. So there'll be a net of like $20,000 that the city will have to pay for.
And gas tax, just to clarify, that's the money from the state now that we're getting for the roads.
Correct.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, it's just a one-time thing, is that correct?
Once a year.
Once a
Yep.
year now. they
Oh,
changed
we
it.
got it once a year,
Yeah, they
small
changed
towns.
it. Yep. It used to be only for counties, but they changed it now to,
Yeah, so what is the bulk of that, I guess, at
The
603?
gas tax, we're estimating at 23,000,
Wow.
just based on some of the past. So 21 was right around 22,000. 22, nothing was actually booked, so that 22, that 37 includes both. So just increased it a little bit for some inflation, so 23.
yeah, it used to be very irregular where it would be every couple of years, they'd throw some money down to the cities, but now they changed the law, so it's every year
Or
the city gets.
is there any requirement that we use that? Can we use it for anything, or does it have to be specifically to roads, or maybe you just don't know?
I don't believe there's a requirement in what you
Okay.
have to use it for. It used to
A
be,
huge city party? Okay.
yes, I think you used to have to have so much of your budget going into road and bridge, and then so much of your budget going into the general fund in order to get it, in order to get aid, but they have lifted that many, many years ago. That was before my time, I think. So interest earnings, just a little bit further, 48,000. I decreased that just a little bit because it seems that interest rates are going down, not a ton, but they're on the decline. Escrows, 30,000, those are gonna come in, and then you'll see down below the escrow dollars that are coming out. And so that would bring the total general fund receipts to 1,371,839. Unless you have some glowing changes during that.
So the total revenue, levy and non-levy, is that what that amount is?
Yes, that includes both.
Okay.
Yeah, the levy is the very top box at that 583,000. Wonder if we should scroll.
It's good enough.
Are you sure? Okay. Are you okay to go on to disbursements?
Sure.
Okay. So, the printing and binding, $3,000. We're high in 2023, but the actual this year's been pretty low, so just kind of brought it down just a little bit, kept it at the same as the budget for this year. The mayor and city council wages and salaries, that includes everybody, and assuming that everybody will take their wage. The clerk, deputy clerk, and treasurer was myself at 10 hours a month, and then Becky and Therese at an increase of 4%, because I think that's what you increased them for 4%.
We had last year, yeah.
Are we,
Yep.
so are we proposing an increase for next year in salaries?
We're budgeting, just in the initial budgeting stage, we have not decided anything yet.
Right, so I
Oh,
had
so
stuck
it's
4%
been
in
left,
there again.
is it left flat then?
No, it contemplates a 4% increase, but we can either do that or not.
And that's for all three administrative employees?
No, that was just for Becky and Therese, because I will only have been here a short time by then.
Okay.
The state tax and the paras just kind of go, as a result of the wages. Election, next year, the only thing we should have is to have to pay that county fee for the election equipment maintenance.
The county no election fee.
Exactly. The assessors kept pretty flat at 6,700. Legal went to 20,000, I think because 23 was high, so we just threw a few more dollars in there for 25 as well. And then the 3,500 is the part that would be charged back to residents that would come in through the escrow. And then personnel administration, printing and binding, that is $500, in hopes that we're not looking for new people.
That we stay stable.
Grants, 2,100, that is for the Northeast Youth and Family Services. And,
And Marcia, could you make a little notation about that? Just so that when people look at the budget, they know what it is for?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just on the sheet? Yeah, thank you.
and then the next thing is, planning and zoning went up to 22,500. But I did go through and broke everything out in the previous years. So that's the number I came up with. I can't remember what it was per month. I'd have to go look.
Well, Ben is
Flat.
on a retainer, he's a flat fee.
It's a flat fee.
Yeah, does anyone know what his,
16,
It should be whatever our actual is divided by the
Yeah.
number of months.
trying to remember.
Well, and that actually, because our actual through July 9th, which would only be the 6 months, is 11,200. So,
Yeah,
so
so that
it's
would be,
pretty,
He's 1,600 a month,
pretty
so
close, yeah.
19.2 a year.
which raises the thing, I mean, I was under the impression we were gonna start charging some of this back to homeowners.
Yeah, and we are.
And
Yeah, we just started it, so there should be something on the back
yeah,
end.
there should be something on the other side that I didn't see on the revenue side.
okay.
I wasn't seeing that. Do we know,
I think it's, I think.
Margaret, what
no,
we're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we did was we said that, everyone gets kind of a consultation with Ben, all residents should. But once, you've had your initial consultation of, a half hour, then he'll start charging
Yeah.
for advice. And so it's, he's just started doing it. I don't think we really have history. I mean, so we'd just be guessing at this stage
Yeah.
of the game.
Yeah.
I'd
Do
stick
we
But-
want to
but-
leave it as is, or do
but
we
I
want
think
to
we
take a
would-
little bit off
I
of it?
think we would, because I think we will, now that we have started to charge, I think we will be
Right.
getting some revenues in from that.
How much do you think? Do you, 5,000? 10,000?
Let's start with 5.
Start with
You
5.
guys, yeah, I'm fine with that. What
off
is
of the
everyone else?
22 or off of the 19?
I think it's
Off of
going to
the
be
22.
hard to really push that toward the limit, but I agree with 5. I
5?
mean, I think it's going to
I'd
be
like to see
hard
more, but I think we should be,
Yeah,
We'll take 5 from the 22 and then, add 5 in on the revenue side.
Yeah,
Okay.
subtract 5 from what we're asking in the levy.
Okay.
But if he actually has the $1,600 a month, would the 5 be over and above that?
No,
So- No, okay.
no.
It'll come out of that 22.
Okay.
Okay. Training, dues and subscriptions, just the classes and things we can take. Animal control, 1,200. I think, do we have a flat fee on that too? If they don't pick anything up?
I think we have just a monthly rate. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, probably $100.
When that we got charged when they thought they caught, what was it, Mark's dog or something?
Yeah.
Incorrectly nabbed Mark's dog.
Yeah, it wasn't my dog. I delivered a
Just
dog.
saw
for
the
him.
dog.
It was a nice dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a nice dog. I would have kept
Yeah.
it probably, but
He was
if you're paying for it, you
it.
better.
I'd be paying for it.
Yeah. All right.
Engineering, 14.5, which is, a little bit less than half of what we've paid so far this year.
Which is much less than past years, it looks like, too, so
Yes.
not bad.
I think
All right.
that'll depend a little bit, because we will have
Yeah.
lift station
will.
engineering, but I
Mhm.
believe we are hopefully including that in our budget for the lift station when we know
Yeah,
what it's gonna
that's-
cost.
Yeah, yeah,
That's later,
yeah, that's later, and
I think
there.
it's the very last line.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right.
Okay, so then the general government buildings and plant, that's just kind of based on past history, and so nothing earth-shattering there.
Your shoulders, Susan.
Sorry, pulled my-
Insurance and liability. Just a tiny inflationary factor there, just in case.
Okay.
Okay, the police, the contracted services, I believe that is a solid number that Becky had gotten. Fire is also a solid number. The building
For the police, did Becky call around, do you know? Because we had talked about her calling White Bear to see if they would police
Yeah,
us.
I think she's in process. but
She's in
we don't-
process.
Yeah, we don't
Okay.
have.
For
any-
now, we don't have
we
it.
don't have any information, but yeah, before we land on our final numbers, we certainly, or even
Yeah.
our first number that we have to
Just to let
submit.
people know too, that we are looking around at different options for this, because I know we had the conversation earlier that we're disappointed with some of the enforcement efforts, so we are looking at options, but
So,
Would it be
not
cheaper
many,
this time?
it's not like you can't just go to Amazon and pick a police force, there's,
right.
might not be much, sorry.
Yeah,
Uh,
okay.
So, I take it back. I don't need to be on that list. So with respect to fire, we got hit. We budgeted for fire last year, and then we found out in like January, and we're just about increased fees for their new building in White Bear Lake. Is that included here?
I believe this 40,500 is a solid number.
Okay.
I'll double check it with Becky.
Okay, because we
Chris,
just.
can you
it
go to the
was-
next page?
Like, we got some bill that was like, oh, hey, this isn't in the
Is
budget.
your
and-
portion?
Yeah,
Right,
like,
right. Yeah.
like, look at our, okay, so.
Did our police really go up that much from 2023 to 2024?
Yeah,
It's just
We added the extra
added
I
the
officer.
remember, but
Yeah,
They added the officer, because they wanted that $30,000 safety money that we got.
Yep. Yeah, the state gave us money
didn't-
and they
well,
saw
hold
that
on.
as an opportunity.
No, Kathy's right, though. She's comparing 36,217 to 87,027,
Yeah.
right?
So the 32, the
Yeah.
36,217
It's
is our
actual
actual.
through
that what
7/9,
we spent through half of the
7.
year.
But she's
no,
looking
it's
at
on the
the,
2023 number.
but
Yeah,
this
the
was
actual
reduced by that
That-
grant,
yeah.
though, right?
Oh, the grant.
The grant reduced it,
Because I was looking at 2022 is 96, then we went to
No.
36.
No, the
Grant was on
we-
the fire.
It was fire. You could use
Fire.
it for police or fire. So
Yeah.
last year we didn't budget for anything for fire.
But that's listed here
so
for
the-
fire.
The
so I-
actual 2023 is, let's check that number,
But
that's-
then,
Yeah,
the
that
actual
looks
20
wrong.
then the 2022 police looks weird,
Yeah, the
Yeah.
past numbers look wrong.
Okay.
so.
okay, check them, yeah,
Check them.
okay.
Building administration, 60,000, because I think that's Jack's contract. He gets a certain amount, 20%.
Yeah. And that's based on just a projection, I assume, of
yeah.
what we anticipate will be our,
And we don't have an additional fee in addition to that amount, I think. So that would be correct.
And then there's a big jump under highway, streets, and roads. And that has to do with, that was the actual engineering numbers, plus an extra 15,000 for pothole
our
repair.
house.
Okay.
And everything.
Plus the 23, so between 50,000, plus we have the 23 from the state, right? So that's 73,000 for the roads then. Because there's that $23,000 from the state.
Oh, the gas tax?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll go against this.
So do we need, okay, so we have 86, oh, I'm sorry, then it's not, that, the
This is-
proposed is 82,000. So do we need to lower this 23, knowing that we're getting that money from the state?
Well, it's lowering the levy coming on the front page.
Right, oh, I see. Yep, you're right.
So they do cross each other.
Sorry,
out.
I'm
It's just-
adjusting my brain to the.
Yeah.
But-
now
No,
that-
I'm
way of doing
sorry.
Yeah,
Very visual, so I have to put everything in there and then have it
Nope.
tie out at the bottom.
No, you're fine.
I
I
can hide
just,
rows and stuff if that bothers you.
no,
Well,
you're
like,
fine, you're fine. I
Okay.
just have to adjust my brain to
I mean-
thinking on both sides of the balance sheet.
Is
Last
this the
year-
only place we have any street funds?
That's the only thing coming in for the street funds, yes.
What did we have on our
Well, so this,
10-year?
yeah, and what we spend this past year, I think that's roughly kind of where we want to stay.
Yeah, as I understand it, this number was based on the plan Marcus put together for next year, because next year is a little bit of an anomaly. It's a little lower. And then after that, it jumps up another 50,000. So for next year's budget, that'll have to be plus 50.
Would it make sense to split that between 2 years so we can spread that out a little bit? Or would,
I don't know, because it's gonna have to be 100 every year after that. So it's like, it's not gonna really help just putting another, unless you want to spread that out over.
well, I was thinking if we
Well, you're already at 82, if you
we
bump
do
it up
82,
to
do
100.
100, and then just have
Yeah.
that for a,
That's what I
We
would
had
just
100
do.
this year, that's kind of the expectation, right?
I would
That's
just
fine,
do
we can
100
just-
every
you can
year.
expand the
well,
scope of the
especially
projects.
we've
too.
just put in
Or if you
new
don't
stop
spend it
signs
all
or
next year, you got a
everything
little
else.
Right.
cushion for the,
That $4,000 could go in there.
It's true.
I mean, I don't think we've gotten any blowback. People are happy to get the roads done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
heard anyone upset about road construction happening.
I have.
Have you? That it's not on their street?
Yeah.
Well, that's
Wondering.
okay.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Really?
I'll tell you later.
Would you like to change that one?
It's like,
No.
Well, I
I'm-
would like to bump that up
I-
to possibly 100 so that it's
I'm-
consistent.
I'm
over
actually with
space.
Kathy, but I don't have super strong feelings, so
Well, I think we should bump it to 100.
it sounds like three in favor at least.
Okay,
We can always come down if we absolutely have to, but I would like to plan for it.
okay.
That'll cover stop signs and stuff too.
I think so.
Tree
Hopefully it would.
care, I think we just signed a contract for $5,000.
Yeah.
For street sweeping?
For contract tree
removal.
services.
Oh, tree removal. I was thinking,
This is-
The,
because
gonna
we have
say,
the tree
what?
inspector, oh yeah, tree
Yes.
inspector, yep.
That's
you got it.
the
inspector.
tree,
Yeah.
yes,
Tree
the tree
inspector.
person.
Yeah.
And then we actually took tree removal down to 10,000.
Yep.
Street lighting, 17,000. I'm not sure why there wasn't anything budgeted in '24.
I thought I could
for
have
street
sworn,
lighting?
I could have sworn we did.
I think we did.
Yeah, let's check that.
Okay.
It's a lot of money to spend on street lighting.
We'll just
Is that
buy
just the electricity for that?
863 flashlights.
This is tree lighting.
Sorry to jump back to ice and snow removal. So
That's fine.
Oh, yeah.
23 was an anomaly. That was 99 inches of snow or whatever. So we'll rarely hit 45 grand. But I'd say also counter last year was also an anomaly where we had a dozen inches of snow. So 15 grand is on the low side. Is 20 a fair enough guess, or would it be fair to be just a hair higher than that?
So, good question. There's two, if you look too, it's 40 total. So
Oh,
it's salt and
sorry,
sand.
we got
And I made
contract.
the same
Okay.
mistake, yeah. It's salt and sand. That's the materials is 20, and then the
Okay.
services is
Okay, then yeah, I think we're.
Do we have salt and sand left over from last year? I can't believe we'd used 15,000 last year.
I
They just
agree.
dump that much?
They
seems-
dumped
It
was like the circus out there when there
they-
was
I
the
think
one
they-
storm. They just went nuts.
I saw that, but
Right, right, and
a
we've had a discussion with them, and I think we're gonna try to look around, see what we can find.
We did already, and there's, no one
Well-
wants us.
Try, it's
Yeah,
I mean,
hard.
yeah, I mean, I'm
It's a
great.
hard
I'd
job.
love to, but
Yeah, yeah, no, I've had many discussions with them, yeah, okay, well, yeah.
I mean, I'm
Sorry.
sure they were
Yeah, it's-
hurting
I
last.
don't want to open up a wound.
Yeah.
well, no, I mean, and then Mark, you have a good
salt in
point.
it.
Hey, rub salt.
Yeah,
And you have
that's
a
right.
good point, that, I think we had a decent amount budgeted for that last year.
I was about to make a salt ton.
Yeah, we
too.
should
You
have gone
saved me.
under it.
You
Oh.
saved
The
everybody.
question being,
Making
can
a
we
salt
reduce
on-
this
on-
year?
We're
On
in
the
between. 'cause
Field of
last year
jokes, yeah.
Was a low snow event.
Yeah.
It's you're gonna be somewhere in between the past 2 years.
Mhm. Yeah.
40, I think, is reasonable, but
Yeah.
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 I mean,
Okay.
that way, if we have 70, it's
Mhm.
not going to be quite as bad.
Hopefully, yeah.
True.
Yeah, and then with tree removal, we kind of skipped by that too, but, you know, anomaly, higher in 2023. But, you know, we were thinking, you know, there's always going to be trees being removed, you know, but we were thinking 10, are people happy with that?
I-
You know,
I mean, we can do.
the budget was more for 2024.
How much can we get a little bit of a, do we know how much like 10K takes? Like, it's not that much, is it? Like tree removal?
So for my tree, the big one,
Steve always gives us
Mhm.
a really good.
Yeah,
um,
Does he?
Steve does, yeah.
he does,
That's a
but
more than fair deal.
he absolutely does. I know he had some issues with his eyes recently, so I'm not sure that we can depend on
Yeah.
Steve Dean for
Yeah,
all of
right.
that forever.
right.
But when I had a quote done for my trees, I had one that was a medium-sized tree, and that was about $2,000.
Okay,
So that's
it's about
5 trees.
5 trees.
That seems a bit low, but Steve Dean also gives a much better rate than a contractor doing 1 tree.
So figure 7 trees.
That's a really good price.
Yeah, he does, but as, you know, as you mentioned, Kathy, you know, if he's back online, you know, but if he's not, then,
How many
you know,
trees do we, I mean, did we get rid of all those ash trees already, or do we still have more to go?
No, so we're aiming to try and get a grant for taking out a good portion. Polly's Park, I believe, still had 101 trees.
But I'd also, yeah, you want some of this in there for emergencies. when,
Yeah,
we've
I mean,
had
that's-
roads
That's what I'm trying to
blocked.
figure out,
Yeah.
maybe we should do 15 instead of 10.
I do feel
Finally,
like we
That's
probably
probably
shouldn't,
fair.
we probably shouldn't take that one down at any point, just because
Okay.
emerald ash borer is still
Still with us,
happening.
yeah.
Who
Okay.
knows what the next one, I hear chestnut borer is a new one for oak trees, so
Oh,
fun times.
Great, are we gonna have any trees left over? or is this-
Chestnut borer for oak trees?
Well, emerald ash borer is for elm, so why not?
Huh.
So the recycling number of 2,400, I believe, I can double check with Becky, but I think that's a solid number.
okay.
Does that take into account the grant we get for that too?
That's a question for Becky, I'm sorry.
We'll
That's
check
I
that.
should know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll check on that. Maybe I'll wait a couple days to bother her,
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hopefully she's feeling better.
till she's feeling a little better, yes.
We got a couple days.
Parks and city maintenance, wages and all that's pretty straightforward with just a tiny little bump for inflation.
So we did just approve for parks, 10% of that, what was it on the 31st?
Was it 800?
8,000, wasn't it, for us?
I don't think we approved a dollar amount, but I'm happy to figure one in.
Yeah, so the
Sorry,
grant
what-
was for
for
80,000, and then we
Oh.
had to do 10% of that, so that would be
Mm.
8,000 that we'd need to budget for.
Yeah, it's 8,000.
Can we just take that out of is the dock
Yeah, we
fees?
can use the dock.
Let's
fees.
use the dock fees for that, if that,
But we need to make sure we don't use that for maintenance then.
we have 10,000 left over from this year, I think, right now in dock fees. I don't know if there's a plan for that,
Well,
but,
the fence that we want to do and some other things end up coming out of
okay,
that.
so maybe we bump that up then a little bit, huh? You're
Which
suggesting?
number? I'm sorry.
Something for parks, probably,
Repairs and maintenance.
Here's the maintenance, and you want to bump that up to 8,000? Or?
No.
No,
Repairs and maintenance, I don't know, another 3,000 maybe.
4,000 total?
Well, do we have the lawn care maintenance in there as
Yeah,
well?
we have to have that.
I was gonna ask that, I thought that
Mhm.
was in here.
Maybe, do you guys want to take the lawn care maintenance stuff online, and maybe we just add, how much do you think we should add in addition to
well, the
that?
lawn care one, we hired someone to do that, and that was.
Yeah, so I don't know if you need to add extra to, or if that goes under
Or if that
wages
is
and
included.
salary since we're having less staff time, or,
I would say that'd be contracted service. Yeah, that's true.
Contracted,
It should.
yeah.
Well,
It should be another contracted services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that it would change wages and salaries
No, it
because he was
wouldn't.
overworked
Yeah,
to get
he's-
everything done. So I assume
Yeah.
he's still doing his same hours.
I still don't know what he's doing. I'm sorry, I don't.
Well,
I don't know if anybody does.
you can come in and meet with him, and we can have that discussion.
It's watering all the trees we just got.
Yeah,
That big
yes,
hose.
Yeah, the big hose, yeah. All right. What was our lawn contract? Let's figure that out, Marcia.
I will get
Okay.
back to you on the lawn care
Okay.
contract.
All right. And then we want to put a little bit in for our matching grant, but not the full 8,000. So you were
probably.
suggesting, Justin,
Another couple of thousand, just,
so bump that
Three-ish?
repairs and
Three,
maintenance
yeah,
up to
just-
3 from 1,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
just to supplement for
We
that.
got a couple years too to pay the 8,000.
Yeah,
But I
it's-
think we have to pay it in advance, so we have to figure that out anyway, but
Okay.
Okay.
Well, and she said too, you might be able to get grants for even the 8,000.
grants to do that, yeah.
Yeah. Which
I
would
just don't want to bank on it quite
be,
yet.
no, which would be great. Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, so down below, you'll see the escrow refunds of 30,000 come out. There's the $30,000 that we moved to the capital improvement fund.
Do we need that? Given that we're essentially doing that with the roads? My understanding is the capital improvement fund, the whole purpose of that is to deal with things like roads and other things.
General
And
upkeep.
general
bid.
capital improvements, do we need to add 30,000?
Do we have we had some automatic transfer there, so I don't understand.
That's,
Yeah.
yep,
Are you
that
not
we budget for it
Is
here,
worried
it
about
comes
another
into the general fund.
Need for another lift
Through
station?
the levy,
Yeah.
and then through board
Five to
approval,
10
we
years.
usually move it over
Oh.
to the capital improvement
Okay.
fund.
Well, let's
Got it.
think about that. Let's check into that. But it's
Ag-
nice to have, it's
agreed.
nice to have
Yeah.
something in the capital improvement fund.
What's in
that
the
we have.
capital improvement fund, though? How much, do you know how much is in that?
That's an easy thing to check, isn't it?
It's a
75,000?
spreadsheet. It should be up on my, treasurer's
75
report.
It wasn't.
Let me
I don't have it in front of me.
Justin.
75,000, I mean, that's,
That's another
We gotta-
half a lift station.
Well, that's
break.
what I was thinking is, do you just want to slowly start socking that away
Away
for
for
the
the
lift,
lift
the
station
next
two.
lift station that goes in 5 to 10 years?
I mean, I think it's worth making a general remark, which is, I asked Becky to throw in and it was probably ultimately asking you, Marcia, our financial statements. And it does look like we have a fairly significant structural imbalance on the good side of things. And by that, I mean, it looks like we have, wouldn't you kind of agree with that, that we have, I gotta look at the financial statements, but it seems like, for example, in 2024, we've spent quite a bit less than we planned for.
Correct.
Yeah, and
yeah.
so,
That no snow thing really helped.
well,
Well, we still have a
it's,
couple
yeah,
of winter months to go.
Yeah, we
it's been a
do.
combination of things, and you don't, it's better more than less, but on the other hand, you don't wanna, we gotta
What's our overage, do you think?
probably,
Yeah, and there could be $25,000 in tree removal if we have a storm. I mean,
No.
you just need to be able to cover those expenses.
Or one more lift station break. I mean, how many have we had now
Right.
just this year?
so, but,
Or a sinkhole, I just had a.
I mean,
We had one.
Oh, really?
I think the problem with a structural imbalance is you could cut your taxes next year probably and just spend down your reserves, but then you'd end up with either really low reserves or else big tax increases later on. It might be worth.
That's what we
The
had
trouble
happen
is I don't
last
want to
year.
sit here and just keep building up a massive reserve.
Oh, no,
you
no
know,
one,
at
no
the
one wants
expense
to
of
keep,
taxpayers, and so,
no one wants to have a massive
I mean,
reserve, but I think best practices are we have
A
a reserve, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the Minnesota Association, well, of townships, because I usually deal with townships, they recommend like 9 months' worth in reserves of your general expenses, so.
Okay, all right.
and where are we, do you know where we're at with respect
No,
to
I
that?
have to look at that,
It,
but I
it
can get
looks
back
to
you.
me like we're probably, let's figure that out, because I think that's a really good question, is where are we at on our reserves?
I
That's a
think-
really good question to ask.
And I think that's a good it's a good benchmark. Like if you're saying, okay, most townships, they're at 9 months reserve, and then let's aim for that. And if we're over, then either we should be transferring some of that to the capital improvement fund to save for a lift station if we want to do that, or, reducing this budget so that we save the taxpayers money.
Sure.
Because, I just having a bunch in the bank account without a purpose is just sort of like,
Yeah, no, 100%.
No, and it helps when we do have it in the bank to identify the project that
Yeah,
it's for, and, it could even be helped to soften the blow next year with
yeah,
roads and stuff, so.
right, yeah. Thank you. I mean,
And-
quite frankly, this is the best budget in my.
Last
I
year
love
was
Mary Kay
good.
Hill, but like, this is the best budget
And
that
this
I've
is
seen.
even
So,
better, so.
Yeah. Thank you.
Like, maybe I just
Detail, I should say.
Maybe I just
Yeah.
tuned out for a second, but where is our tech spending in here? Our Metro INET successor, Techie Dudes, and so on?
That is,
Like 3 pages back.
Did I tuned out for a second,
Yeah.
maybe, huh? Okay.
Software expense, 2,100.
Is that where it is under software
Well,
expense?
that's part
Okay.
of it.
cleaning is 750, and then,
Communication,
wanna
is
say
that
the
where it is?
communication is where Techie Dudes
All right.
and Metro INET will be, or vice versa.
Yeah, that's R.
Okay.
That's-
And
So if you
so,
go down to her notes at the bottom,
Right.
R is
okay.
Metro INET and forecasted Techie Dudes Internet and.
Oh, super. Okay, great.
I really like
okay.
these notes too, because they're actually really helpful.
Yeah, all right, and 5,000 is probably 250 a month, that's 4,000, and then we'll do another. We might want to put 500 more there, but that's probably picking nets at some point, isn't it?
No,
So,
if you want to put it in, we
okay.
can.
yeah, it's okay, talk about it next time, so.
So on the total general fund disbursements down at the very bottom. So it looks like our new one is 1,371,000 compared to 2024's of 552.
Yes,
and
it looks
that's
a
that
little,
Engineer one.
it looks a little wonky just because all the non-levy stuff is in here as well.
Okay.
And the ends of the receipts look equally as off.
Right.
Yeah.
But wouldn't those have been in the other years too,
No,
No,
as far as like the budgeted amounts? Or did we not pull that in? The
We
actual,
didn't pull that in prior to this year.
okay.
okay.
But, if this, honestly, if this is not appeasing to the way you want to see things, just let me know.
No, I was just trying to figure out as far as like, last year we had like, it was a percentage up by a certain amount kind of thing. so I
And,
just-
Marcia, too, we haven't talked about engineering, right? Professional services engineering. We need to kind of make it explicit what we get that the city gets back, and then what we pay our engineering fees, like have that number be separate too. I mean, right? I mean,
Yep.
okay.
so is that,
That's the lift
that
station.
would be
isn't
added
it?
to the, so meaning what we charge homeowners?
Yeah, I mean, there's some that tie out, and then there's some that we need to ask for in the levy, right? So we
Right.
have to make sure we understand what that number is.
So we're
Okay.
talking,
Yep.
just so I'm clear, we're talking on page 1, the general fund, just the income. Right, we have,
So some of that, what we charge our residents for planning and for
maybe not,
engineering expenses are there, it's like thrown into that escrows account. Because typically, like if you open an escrow for a resident, theoretically, it'll be closed out the same year, so they pay it.
right, I think what.
Then
oh, go-
everything's coming through the engineer, so we just need to find a way to how to break out the stuff that's being charged back to residents.
So are you talking, Margaret, page 4, the professional services engineering of 14,000?
Okay, where are we? Okay. Right here, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I just want to make sure that that number is,
Offset in the income?
yep, is it? Yep.
The
Or
whole
this-
14,000? No,
No, that's the 14 is the extra that we're budgeting, correct?
correct.
Okay. Are we good with that number?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Well, so that's just city work, basically, right?
Yeah, having to do with the lift station.
Coming into the
Well, the
meeting.
lift station's on a different,
That's in the 600, isn't that? The lift station
The
one?
lift station engineering would be included in that.
yeah, because you check, I believe you checked, and it looked like in your notes, you said that we can use some of the grants for that, for that.
We just don't know what the lift station
Yeah,
is gonna
and
cost
there's,
yet.
there's a little bit of a wrinkle there, though. For engineering, we have to make sure that it's competitively bid, and there's a whole set of guidelines,
Okay,
for that, in order to use that grant money for engineering fees.
okay.
I would hope we're competitively bid.
Oh,
Well,
Well, I think
that
For the
means,
For the engineering services, not for
Services.
the lift station.
not for the construction.
Construction.
Yeah.
So we would have to open this up to non-Bolton and Mink to basically bid for the contract, and
see.
you can probably do that.
can we use Rice Creek money for that portion of it without competitively bidding? Because we have 2 grants.
Yeah, and, and that's a good question, and we should look into that. But
Okay.
I'd like to make sure that
Or maybe
we've looked at all,
not a bad idea, just
Every-
throw it out there.
everything around the engineering
I
fees.
believe that Becky did double check on
Okay,
that, and we
okay.
can use the Rice Creek.
We
Okay,
can, okay.
okay, so, but I mean, it might be worth just yeah, it wouldn't hurt to competitively bid it, I guess, so it's,
All right.
And so if, on the first note, on note A, on the notes page, it kind of gave, obviously, we've changed a lot of numbers, but there, you can go there and look at, see what your percentage change was over what the budget was in 2024.
It looks like we did awful.
The disbursements, yes, the disbursements are awful. I could take those off until we have a
It's okay.
couple of comparative years.
Yeah, that might be good so that people understand that. It's a different way of looking at it.
Yeah, some of the actuals and the others numbers aren't quite right.
Most just look at that top line.
Yep, I can, I'll take the bottom line off for now. And then it won't be so shocking.
And my hope is that when we actually get pricing for that lift station, we'll be pleasantly surprised. I know that won't happen, but until we have that lift station actually bid, I feel like the capital improvement, we might want to leave that 30,000
EA
just
seems
in
to want
case.
to wait until prices go up another 30%.
I know,
Yeah,
I know.
all right.
Do you have
All
any
right.
other questions?
People have more questions for Marcia?
Oh, this is
All right,
great.
Yeah,
yeah,
this
thank you so
Marcia.
much, Marcia.
Thank you, Marcia.
This is
Thank you,
awesome.
thank
Love
you,
this budget.
thank you, Margaret,
Becky
too.
was
Wow, the-
helping, and Justin and
The-
Margaret helped a lot too. So
thank you for waiting so long.
no problem. I was going to ask you guys, after talking to Mary Cahill, part of our internal controls are that I need to have 2 of you volunteer to look over the bank reconciliations.
I'm happy to do it.
Okay?
I could probably fit that in, but I could probably fit that in.
Okay.
So that'd be, if somebody else is excited, that's okay, but I looked them over last time, and I'd be happy to fit that in to do again if we want to, so
Okay. Do you want me to throw out some dates?
Sure.
that'd be good.
That'd be good. Thank you, Marcia.
Thank you.
Is that something you can just do remotely? Can you just
It's
send
much
them
easier to
the-
look through the books. It's
Send 'em
it's
the-
binders.
Yeah.
Oh, they're binders, okay.
I have a binder, but you can take it home.
Yeah, no, that's, probably don't want that either, though.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll put you to sleep. Thank you,
All
Marcia.
right, thank you so much. Mhm. All right, on to city business. And we are on item C, second reading of ordinance 2024-07-01, water and sewer permit on the fee schedule. Right. And I think, Ryan, did you want to just for the record, before we do the public hearing, just kind of update us as to this? Were you the one who proposed this?
Well, No, I think you actually
Or I had-
proposed it.
oh, this is
And
what
then
I
we
had.
asked that it be like, go into an ordinance, and then I,
Okay,
as usual, picked some nits, and this was kind of how it was reformatted a little bit. And the only, and so this is actually a second reading of this. This we passed last, and then it was basically, I think it was clarified significantly here. I helped Becky and Alan a little bit fix it up. The only question I have is, maybe the lawyers here can tell me whether this is a big deal, but it says an ordinance amending ordinance 2024-0102, which was in January. I think we amended the fee schedule probably a bunch of times since January. I don't know if that's a big deal. Should I care? Like,
Yeah, just, I mean, I mean, my recommendation is just remove that, just say, you know, the city of Birchwood Village has a fee schedule prescribing the fees for various services, and then just remove the rest of that.
plus the title, yeah,
And then the city would like to charge. I don't think we
yeah.
need the actual, I don't know, Margaret, what do you think?
and so take out the verbiage about memorializing
In by,
in by.
yeah,
Okay.
in by ordinance
Okay.
20, I mean, because,
Okay.
I mean, it's just a fee schedule. I
Okay,
think
let's do
everyone
that.
knows
Let's
where it is.
delete that part. And then we should be good on that one. Okay, well, I'd like to open the public hearing. Do we need a motion?
Well,
You just open it.
you just open it.
Just
I
open
think
it?
Nobody here.
Okay, no, right, no one's here.
No one's here.
And so I'd like a motion to close the public
So
hearing.
moved.
All right, second?
So- oh, Okay.
Okay, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, public hearing is closed. All right,
I'll move to pass ordinance 2024-0701
With that change,
with that change.
and I'll second that.
okay, Kathy seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. And now we have item D, second reading of ordinance 2024-0702 regarding solicitors on the fee schedule.
$100.
I'll move to pass ordinance 2024-0702.
Oh, well, let's, should we have the public hearing first?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Public
Okay.
hearing.
We don't not
Open the
get too
public,
fast
I'd
here.
like to open the public hearing, seeing no one from the public here. I move to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
What's that?
All in, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is closed. All right, Ryan.
I will move to adopt ordinance 2024-0702, amending the fee schedule to add solicitor registration fees.
I'll second, Justin.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We did the variance already.
Yep. Animal barriers.
Yep, okay.
What page is that
F,
on?
110.
110.
Thank you.
This, item F, first reading of ordinance 2024-0802 about animal barriers. So this is really deer fencing. And Ryan, thank you for
Well,
taking a
thank you.
stab
I
at.
think we worked
Yeah,
together a little
yep,
bit,
That was,
so.
that was good, yeah.
I changed it a little bit after we
Did-
talked, but I hope it's okay.
No,
so,
no,
okay.
I think it looks good. And is there comment from council?
It's good to me.
As far as it's non-permanent, so I'm okay with it.
I tried to do that way, so. And the only other remark I have is there's a couple in here where a 6XX didn't get changed to a 623, so we need to,
Oh.
in the
we are-
title, just,
Oh.
it's just I just gave it over and it just didn't get
Oh, it didn't
quite all
transfer?
fixed, so we probably need to just fix that up before
Okay.
round two, so.
Okay, we'll make sure that we get all the ins and outs.
Oh,
Okay.
One comment, now that I look at
Okay,
it.
okay, yep.
623.020, height above grade. So just let's add before shall mean, just say for the purposes of this, of
Oh,
chapter
fair enough.
623. Just, I don't want somebody like,
Got it.
you know.
But what about that fencing
What about
ordinance?
what about this
What about
definition of height above grade? I mean, it's stupid, but
Okay.
people do that, so.
Okay. sounds
Given
good.
that
So for
change-
purposes of this section?
Yeah,
Okay.
given that change, I'll
Okay, all right.
I'll move to adopt the first reading of ordinance number 2024-802 and send it to a second reading next meeting.
All right, may I have a second?
I'll second Kathy.
Kathy, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
There is another one of those 6XX on
There's a
page.
couple of them,
We'll
yeah.
take a look- Ryan and I will take a look at it
Well-
together and make sure we have it accurate. All right. The next item is G, South Shore Trail Joint Powers Agreement. And I'd like to, and we've been looking at this and kind of sending it back with little tweaks and, to White Bear Township. And Becky and I met with the folks from White Bear Township, and really, it's hard for them to forecast exactly what our portion is going to be. We have such a tiny little portion there.
This,
And,
sorry.
I'm just saying, so they have a hard time doing that. That's the last thing we asked them to do. And they said, we've had a good relationship with them. We work with them over so many things. They'd like us to, they'll be very careful to make sure that we only get charged for our portion. And so they'd just like us to sign the
faith,
agreement
as it were.
as the last one that we sent over without the need to forecast. So anyway, I recommend we do it. I think we have had a long-term relationship with them. I don't think they're looking to gouge us, and really we'll be able to budget, I think, probably after getting some data this year, we'll be able to accurately budget for coming years.
So I just have a question. It just looks to me like paragraph 4. This whole paragraph, I can read it, but it basically says, this is a gentleman's agreement or gentlewoman's agreement maybe, and there's really no consequence. It's just kind of a good faith thing, which actually seems kind of nice for something like this. Is that a reasonable reading of that?
Well, yes, I think,
Okay.
I think what their point is that they do work with us over, our sewer. They come and fix our sewers when we have problems. We trust them, they trust us.
Yeah.
And I think we'd like to keep that relationship. I don't think we want to go looking for a new vendor.
What's your take on it, Justin? I guess maybe you read that differently than I do, because that was.
Well, I'm trying to read it. My concern, right, is, I have a lot of concerns about this one, but my concern here is that, are we waiving any obligation? Right, they're responsible for snow removal. If they don't remove the snow and somebody slips and falls and breaks their ankle, are we liable for that then? When it's their problem that they didn't remove the snow?
Yeah, well,
I don't mean to throw, I know
yeah,
you've been working
yeah,
with them, so I don't mean to
yeah.
That's the same if it happened out here, though. You got insurance to cover that.
Yeah, and I do think that they are very much on the job about removing snow, and
I know, Margaret, but you're fighting every
Yeah.
instinct I have as an attorney
I
to
know,
say,
I know.
do not do this.
I know, but, yeah, I think our alternative is, we're gonna have to take care of all these things ourselves. And I think they're a bigger operation, and they get on it right away. I think we'd open ourselves to maybe more liability if we tried to take on
Yeah.
these jobs.
And when they're out doing their portion, which is a much larger portion, it takes them 5 extra minutes to do ours. So I'll make a motion to sign off on this.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion
Nay, I
carries.
should say. I don't know.
Okay, no,
Is it
it's-
aye or nay?
Nay,
I think you can do
probably.
either. Sometimes you say signify by the same, but,
Yeah,
either,
nay.
okay. All right, thank you, Justin. The motion carries. All right. All right. The next item is H, Ash Path Split Rail Fence quotes.
Looks good to me.
Yeah.
Much better.
$1,500, looks nice, do it.
Okay, I assume that Justin's making a motion to.
I'll move to
Okay.
approve that
All right.
and get them going on that.
Could I just make a
Just let's get a
comment here?
second in there, and then I'll ask for comment.
I'll second.
Okay, all right,
Mark.
all right, Mark second. Okay, Ryan?
I guess I just think that paying Ron $25 an hour for this kind of work is a little low. I think work like this could be, especially when he's leading the project, I think he's giving us an extremely good rate, I would be happy to bump up his rate to $30 an hour. So,
I'll
Yeah,
take his quote.
Yeah, that's what he quoted us. I mean,
he's an
think it's
employee,
fair,
but-
so.
Yeah,
so, and,
Let him set his own price.
okay.
okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item is I, vacant properties. And Ryan, would you like to
Yeah, I can.
take this one?
So, as we know, we've kind of been trying to work with a few vacant properties here over a number of months. And, we've kind of I've done a fair amount of work. We've passed resolutions. We've asked Alan to cite on two of these properties, 310 and 312. We've asked, Alan to work with the sheriff to issue some citations. In July, we asked for a citation to be issued. We had also asked for citations to be issued in June. As far as I'm aware, no citation has yet been issued, despite the city council having directed that. And so, I had wanted to discuss that with Alan a little bit tonight and just find out what our process is. It's a little frustrating because now we're waiting yet another month to kind of move these forward, and there's erosion going into the street on these. I'm not sure did you have a comment, Margaret?
Oh, I was just going to suggest that, would you be willing to, you and I meet with Alan, just to get a
That
full
wouldn't be a bad
explanation of
idea,
it, and then
yeah.
we can report out at the next meeting?
That would probably be
Yeah,
better
I
than
mean,
just
this is getting a
without
little
him here,
ridiculous.
so.
Let's do that.
Just get him cited.
Okay.
Let's
Okay.
go.
All
And
right.
then, so let's do that. Let's also, do we need a motion? Let's invite the sheriff to our September meeting. I think it'll be good to have the sheriff here to see the road safety thing as well.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And then, so those are my things. But I actually think, I hadn't thought about that, but I think that is really a good idea. Let's meet with Alan and just discuss this with him a little bit, rather than talking about it without him here. So especially, but I like that idea. Thank you. And I also just wanted to raise, we'd asked for a couple of, I don't know what it is. Is it a special assessment or a certification? Maybe you know, Margaret, because you're when we have a fee and we assess that to somebody, what is that called? Is it a special assessment or a
kind of fee is
certification to taxes, or?
What kind of fee are you
You
talking?
mean
When
when,
the vacant building fee, when we're certifying these to
Oh.
taxes, I don't quite know
you know,
what that is.
I'm not sure. My thing was more just valuation of large commercial.
Yeah,
properties,
right,
but-
so I didn't know, but I just wanted to get an update, because we'd asked that be done, and I thought, usually when
okay.
you do that, you want to do that kind of right away, so that if somebody sells a property, they get stuck with it at the closing time. So I just wanted to ask, but Becky is ill, so maybe we just
Well, why don't we include
give her a
that in
little
our-
question, and,
yep.
yeah, let's
Okay.
just ask about that. Plus, I just wanted to have somebody kind of talk to me about the whole code
Okay.
enforcement process and just learn a little bit, so.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Is council fine with?
Sounds good to me. I mean, I
Okay.
think we need a more effective manner of enforcing our code, because having a resolution telling Alan to cite somebody and it doesn't get done for 3 months is ridiculous.
Well, I think, yeah, we'll figure out a way to.
Appreciate
do
it,
that.
yep, that's
Okay.
great.
Okay, that sounds good. All right. And then the next item is J, the Hunt Electric claim from July's Treasurers Report. Ryan and I both looked into this, and I propose we pay that claim. The permit was gotten, and we've talked with Therese about the process. So I propose, I make a motion that we approve that claim.
I'll second.
Any
Thank you for looking
questions?
into it.
Did we skip EPA update,
Oh, did I?
Well,
page 118?
Uh,
Go back to it.
Well,
We've got a
let's
motion, so let's
finish,
just
let's
finish
finish this
that.
one, and then we can go back. Okay. We have a motion and a second?
yeah.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Which one are we looking at? Kathy, did I miss?
That's next.
Is it next?
One eight-
Oh.
118. You're right, Margaret. Just keep going.
Okay, keep going. All right, Kay, administrator updates. Becky's not here, but we have materials in our packet about the lift station update. And just as a summary, we met recently with our contacts that administer the grant, and we're still waiting for the cultural heritage approval. And, you know, it's in process, and we hopefully should be getting that pretty soon. And, you know, I guess that's the same report we made last time, but, you know, until we get it.
I hope we get it
yeah.
before the thing breaks.
I know, we'll have to,
Did
yeah.
this new Region 5 representative tell us how long it's going to take?
They just said as soon as they possibly can, you know.
Well,
so, yeah, I know.
I really, thank you, I really appreciate just the paragraph. I think that's really good, just to thank you so much to Becky and,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Well, you're welcome. I'm happy to do it. And I do think, though, the next meeting that we have, I'm going to explain to them, though, that we really do need to start getting these things finalized so that we can bid out and get our project done.
Explain to the
And so-
EPA, you mean?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
right, exactly. You know, to say, is there a way then, I mean, this has been taking some time. And so there might be a way that if it's been taking all this time, that we can just say, you know, let's bid it out and assume we're getting approval, which we will, just because it's a project that, it's just we're replacing what's there.
Well, and the
So-
environmental damage of them
Yeah.
sitting around and waiting for this thing to fail and overflow into the lake is going to be greater.
Yeah, so I think there are arguments to be made, yeah, so, but so far, I mean, you know, we're on track.
In theory.
In
just a
theory.
question.
Yeah, that's right.
Um,
And then the,
Is there any of this that can be done during the winter?
Oh,
the bids.
Bidding and the
Yeah,
design
bidding, yeah,
confirmation,
yeah,
everything,
I
I
think-
assume, but as far as like,
Yeah, they won't be able to construct until later, but I think the bids can be done as soon as we get our plan in place and approvals, yeah. So, okay, does anyone else have questions? Okay. Update on recycling grant, I think the main thing on that was, we need to decide whether we want, you know, stickers on our recycling containers or metal posts, but I think stickers are fine. What do you think?
I see something that's, where are the stickers going?
Let's see.
in the bins on the recycling
Bins.
for the beaches, is that right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess, and what are the, okay, and what do the stickers say that, like, what, I'm fine with it, like, do we want to just have parks look at this maybe, and
I think we can solve this one.
what,
with a
parks,
sticker.
or just do this here tonight, I don't know,
do
I'm,
the stickers.
Just do stickers.
stickers, I'm not too,
Yeah, we don't need more sign clutter.
No, yeah, I think, I mean, yeah.
I'm not sure staff need more of my opinion sometimes, so what there's recommended is fine.
All right, well, I make a motion that we recommend that the stickers are a good result here. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in
everyone.
favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right,
Tree inspection.
tree inspection. All right, it looks like we did have a tree inspection, which took place the week of July 22nd, and we do not have the results yet. So we will keep everyone informed when we get them. And Kathy, do you have anything to add about trees in general?
Nope, the
Okay.
DNR is, well, I guess I do. The DNR has, planning on doing the relief grant again this year. So they had said that they were going to open up for rebidding, and we do have the Poly Park project where we have most of the materials from a previous grant we attempted to get to resubmit for that. But it's not open for submittals yet, so once that does open up, we'll try for that one.
Okay, great, thank you, Kathy.
Now we
Yeah.
can make like trees and adjourn, huh?
That's right.
Yeah, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, second?
Second, yeah.
Okay, Justin, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank